Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed and we are exploring beliefs. How do we explore beliefs? How do we determine whether a belief is true or not? And to learn how to move from belief to understanding, because if we are... What's that noise? If we are exploring a belief, we have to do so with understanding. And if we understand that belief, we've moved from belief to understanding, in that what was formerly a belief, we now have understanding of. So we don't have to simply believe someone else. Or if it turns out that belief ain't true, we've moved from belief to, we've purified that belief. And in doing so, we've learned how to function in relation to that idea in a better way. So we've perfected our understanding and purified our belief. It's a win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win-win. So we're learning how to move from the lower cognitive function, belief, which is the root cause of human problems, into a higher cognitive function, or our purpose as human beings, and the activity of learning, the activity of spirituality, making it our purpose. Understanding that which allows us to solve problems and reach excellence. So in learning how to move from belief to understanding, we are applying it to perhaps the most common false belief of our age, or, well, spoiler alert, is it a false belief? Most common and most dangerous. One that is used by the ruling powers, the Abrahamic religions, in order to prevent any judgment against them, and in order to justify their own false beliefs, because, hey, what's that noise? What's going on? If everything is a matter of belief, then aren't they entitled to their own belief, no matter how oppressive and false and harmful it is? And who are you to judge? And surely if they have, if they don't understand anything, they can still be a political leader or a religious leader or a capitalist owner of everything, because, hey, if everything is a matter of belief, if everything is relative to personal belief or perception or opinion, then their own personal beliefs or ignorance is just as true as any other expert. So they have expertise. All they have to do is call themselves a senator, or a priest, or a imam, or a rabbi, or a CEO. So, the most common, perhaps, and also the most dangerous, because if everything is relative to personal opinion and perspective, there is no truth. If it seems true, it is true. It's your truth. And if there's no truth, there's no understanding. There's nothing beyond personal beliefs and opinions. There's no development. So whatever was indoctrinated into your brain when you were 4 years old, that's fine. Stay there. Stay as a baby brain. And if there's no, if understanding is just belief, or if truth is just belief and there's no understanding, not only can we not judge people who do harm because it's their belief that they're not doing harm, not only can we not demand expertise from our political, religious, and economic leaders, because they're experts, right? Because they believe themselves to be experts. But that also means there's no philosophy. There's no philosophy. The very thing we're here to discover or awaken, the name of the channel, the very thing we're here to awaken and master as our purpose as human beings. Philosophy, true philosophy, the art of understanding, or the dialectic. The art we're here to master. Hey, don't even try. And if there's no truth beyond personal opinions, and no art for us to master, and no development beyond the beliefs you get as a baby, there's no meaning. There's no meaningful activity. Welcome, Sus. Welcome, welcome. How are you? Thank you for the chihuahua, or seal. So there's no meaning in reality. There's no meaning in life. No way to understand and solve problems. No way of understanding and reaching excellence. So, as we learn how to understand and how to move from belief to understanding, or ignorance to excellence, we're applying it to a very common belief. Hey, everything's relative. If it seems true to you, then it is true. That's it. And no one can judge. So that's the key belief we've been exploring. What have we seen so far? Well, if what we're learning to do as human beings, being alive and relating to our capacity for self-reflection, or ousia, and language, reasoning, dialogue, or logos. So as we make use of our ousia and logos, we realize that the art that uses those capacities we have, the most evolved capacities, that's the dialectic. And we're also learning how to use the dialectic to read without interpreting. What's interpretation? The functioning of belief. To project the beliefs you carry onto reality and just see your own beliefs reflected back at you, confirming your own ignorance. We call that debate, by the way. Walking away more entrenched in the same beliefs you walked in with, belief or debate. So projecting what isn't there and being blind from what is. So we're learning to read without interpretation. That's the dialectic. So let's use it right now. By reviewing, here we are. Reviewing what we've been seeing and what we saw in the last episode. Let's start with a what did we discover about this idea of all is relative? Oh, we saw? Let's see if we can use a dialectic. What do we see about it itself? Or its definition? The first category of the dialectic. Now, definition doesn't just have to be about the subject itself, but what are the conditions for that thing to exist the way it is? That's a higher way of looking at the dialectic. Well, one of its essential qualities of nature or conditions is principles. What are the principles or causes that lead to the thing existing? But we saw for it's all relative, it can't relate or participate in. Are you still there, Sus? How's the audio? Is the background music and the people's chatter nicely leveled with my voice? Can't participate in principles. Because principles are universal. So we've seen that, oh, hang on a second. If somebody says everything is relative, what seems true to you is true. But if someone comes along and says, well, it seems to me that what you just said is garbage, then they'll say, no, you can't say that. No, it doesn't apply to that. It's not universal. Also, it's not universal because if everything is, if all truth is, well, if there is no way of judging, because there is no absolute truth, it's all a matter of perspective or opinion, and every man's perspective and opinion is different. And there is no ultimate truth. What about that thing that you just said? What about that very principle? Is the principle that it's all relative true? Ah, so it works sometimes, but not all the times. For some people, but not all people. So all you can do is is declare that people who agree with your own position are wise. Anyone who challenges that idea that it's all relative can't talk to them, can't relate to them, because the principle is irrational. All you can do is get mad and try and start a fight, or try and silence the conversation. Also, it can't relate to universal principles by definition, because principles are, for principles to be universal, have universal scope over the physical world, it has to exist itself in the non-physical world, or in intellect, or the realm of being. Has to. Because that's what it means to be a universal principle, has universal scope. Hey, early by you in Australia. Yep, I usually stream quite early. How are you doing, Nitro? So, universal principles exist in the realm of being. For it to have universal scope, hey, if it just exists in the physical world of change or becoming, then it would suck if all of a sudden tomorrow 2 + 2 was 8. Imagine all the houses that would fall down and all the computers that would explode. Exploding computers. So, and because we have been engaging in understanding ourselves, we have a map that recognizes that beliefs are in the physical world, or from appearances or perceptions in the physical world, and function in opposition to understanding. You can't believe somebody else if you understand it yourself. I'm ready for my philosophy hour if I make it that far. Fantastic. So, beliefs can't relate to universal principles because as a cognitive function, it is opposed to that very realm of existence. Understanding and knowing can apprehend and relate to principles. So we saw that can't relate to universal principles. How does it function or demonstration? Now, this is just an example. The idea is for you to do your own dialectic on what you've been reading, because that is how we turn perception into understanding. Isn't that interesting? It's all relative says, hey, if you perceive something, then you know it. So if you perceive an ancient Chinese scroll, you know what that scroll is all about. But what we're saying is, hang on a second, we take what we perceive from reading that text and arrange it, organize it into its parts within a structure of a whole. That's the dialectic. So we are going through that process of dialectic, which is lacking in belief. Demonstration. Now, of course, you can add more into any one of these categories. And in either category, you can say 3 kinds of things. You can say what is true about it. You can say what is not true. like I gave one of those, it's not true that it can participate in universal principles. You can say something that's both not true and true. That both is interesting because it points to the limits. So you could say something about belief, or the its or relative belief, by saying it's what does it do sometimes but not other times? I don't know, it's an interesting one. People defend it sometimes when they're making a monologue, although that wouldn't be about it itself, it'd be how it functions. But when they're in a conversation with someone else, they run away. I don't know. You can think of something. I can't think of one for this one. But that's what the idea of both does. Demonstration. How does it function if it can't relate to principles? Well, we saw it has circular logic. So Aaliyah was asked, hey, what's the belief? Oh, if it seems true, it is true. Oh, that's an interesting belief. What convinced you of that belief? Well, it seemed true to me, so I decided it was true. Circular. It seems true, so it is true, and I only believe that because it seemed true. And it's only worth believing things that seem true if the principle, if it seems so, it is true. But the only way of justifying that is if it seems, see, it's circular. Everything in the Bible is true. Why? Because it told me in the Bible that everything in the Bible is true. Everything in Harry Potter is true. Why? In Harry Potter, it says that everything in this book is true. Circular. So circular or redundant logic. So we have a bit of fun exploring that or explaining that. There's fun when we can see what's going on. Division. So how does that functioning relate to other areas? Well, what was that functioning? If it seems so, it is so. If it seems let's get rid of the word redundant. I think maybe the word redundant is itself redundant. Are you personally satisfied with your own definition of real and relative? Can you say more about your question? What are you pointing to when you ask that question? It seems so, or it seems true. It is true. Division. Now, this is where those who are not bound by the belief, they're not so identified with that belief that they're afraid of losing it. Those who are not so bound can actually have fun. We can have joy and whimsy.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
This is where Aaliyah and Joseph had some fun. They pushed the implications of that functioning. So you know what seems true? Well, in the evening, it seems like the sun is falling out of the sky. Then it is. Alert the newspapers. Ha 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 ha. So the sun is falling. Sun is falling. Let's use a different color. Got a few divisions to talk about. The sun is falling at dusk. What else seems true? People shrink when they walk away from you. Hey, the sun and the stars seem to be moving around in the sky. Well, the sun does. Therefore, there's a geocentric. The Earth is the center of the galaxy. Earth, center of universe, cosmos, or geocentric. The geocentric model. We don't revolve around the sun. Geocentric. Ha 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 ha. How stupid would you have to be to think that the sun revolves around the earth? Ha 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 ha. Well, if you believe everything is relative to opinions or perceptions, then that's you. Do you believe, says our friend in chat, do you believe that you have philosophically answered the question, do I know the difference between reality and relativity? Okay, that's a good start. Now, if I don't follow, you could go from that definition of your question to a demonstration. Can you use something that we're talking about or reading about or related, or at least related to the idea, it's all relative versus understanding, and give an example of the question that you're asking? It's not following at the moment, but that's okay. We can practice the dialectic. Using what we've got or what we've been reading, can you give, or something similar, I suppose, can you give a demonstration of your question? We also saw another division or the functioning, the example in different areas is, hey, if knowledge is perception, what if you're with your girlfriend and you turn out the lights? Do you suddenly not know her? And you don't know how to relate to her when the lights are off? Don't know your beloved or how to relate when the lights are off. See the fun we can have? This is where we have fun, pushing the implications or the division stage of the dialectic. Now this stage, for example, I know I'm looking at a computer screen without questioning whether it's an illusion. Can you do that philosophically speaking? Oh, I see. So does perception alone, perceiving the computer, equate to knowing that the computer is there? That's a good question. Do our physical perceptions ever deceive us? Ever seen a mirage? Could it be an illusion? How would you test it? How would you test whether your perception is knowing? Because that's what we've got here. So one way of testing is saying, hang on a second, does this particular belief apply universally? If everything is relative so long as you're agreeing with me, or everything is relative except for this statement, it's not a true belief because it's not universal. Is it justified with circular logic? The Bible's true because the Bible says so. Then it's not a true belief. If we push the implications or do the division stage and it leads to absurdities, it's not a true belief. So if we try it out and it leads to an absurdity. Okay, so Nitro has given us a demonstration of his question, but the next stage, if I'm not quite following, if it seems that I'm not quite following the crux of his question, can I do that philosophically speaking? Can I know that my computer's not an illusion because I'm perceiving it philosophically speaking? I'm not quite sure. Then he could go to the division stage. Either divide into steps that particular example to give more context about what he means, what the question is, why he's asking the question, how you would go about testing it, what kind of answer is he looking for. That's breaking down the steps of the proof. Or another way of going to the division is using that example in different contexts. Now, ideally, the one that he is most concerned about, or the reason for asking the question, would be one of those divisions. So taking that example or demonstration and saying, here's another way you could look at it without looking at a computer. How do I know if a memory is a real thing, or if it was a dream? Or how do I know this is a real thing? And then give the third one, the one you're really interested in. The reason I ask it, because I want to know if the love I feel for my girlfriend, my beloved, is real or not. Can I know what love is? So that would be another way of doing division. And that's what we've got here. That same functioning pushed in different contexts. Some which is meaningful, like I suspect because of the dynamic between Aaliyah and Harry, this last one, how do we relate to our beloved, might be super meaningful to her. But we see that absurdities result from the belief. So that's a third way of proving that it's not a true belief. Purifying belief and moving ourselves from belief to understanding, because we are understanding that position. Conclusion. How does it conclude? Well, we saw because there is no expertise, because no one is more of an expert than anybody else if it's all a matter of opinion. Whatever it seems true to you, so you're just as good as a medical doctor as Dr. Fauci, says everyone in MAGA. Right? Donald Trump is just as much of a politician as someone who actually knows how to develop, nurture, and benefit the development of the soul, and harmonize society with the logos to facilitate that. The true nature of a politician. He's an actor. He can pretend he knows stuff. It's because there's no real expertise. You don't have to have a qualification to be a president, or a politician, or a religious official, or a CEO. Just let any old fuckhead kill people with that power. Is the nature of the human ignorance that we are facing in a society, and why we are facing mass torture, enslavement, and our inevitable extinction unless we wake up to what we're seeing here. If there's no expertise, what can't you do? You can't make conclusions about the future. No predictions. About the future. So if there's an impending disaster, like we just mentioned with the extinction of our species and the destruction of our planet by leaving belief, these people, it's all relative believers, are in charge of everyone and everything. If that's on the horizon, then because it's in the future, you are not perceiving it. So you can't make predictive statements about the future as someone with expertise would. Imagine a mechanic saying, well, if you keep driving with those tires, you're going to have an accident. If you keep driving without changing your oil, your engine's going to explode. Hey, how good are religious officials, CEOs, and politicians at predicting catastrophes in the future and doing anything to stop them? Zero. Because we allow these things to operate through belief. Where's our sound effect? Wah wah. That's why we face repeating cyclical disasters, death and destruction within our society. For one reason only, this. We allow relativity instead of expertise, belief instead of understanding. It's that simple. Now, we look at it within society, but we're also looking at it within our soul. Do you face repeating cycles of problems, or negative states of mind, or blocks from your most meaningful goals? Can you believe those away? Or must you have expertise to understand the nature or the cause of those problems, the principle behind those problems, and be able to predict what happens if you don't purify that false belief? In other words, are we stuck in our problems individually and how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to our reading, how we relate to our dreams, how we relate to our beloved or relationships, without understanding? How did stupidity take over politics? We need to bring headedness back, level-headedness back. Yes, well, introduce it. I don't remember a time where we had people who've had actual expertise about the nature of the soul, what's needed for its development and growth, how to harmonize society to facilitate that, and how to harmonize society with the self-logos, the underlying intelligibility of reality, which is the literal definition of what politics is supposed to be. There's a harmony within reality that we have to abide by, otherwise we destroy the planet and the environment and our species. It won't work. And also we have to create the conditions for our soul's development. I don't remember a time when we've had someone with that expertise in politics. Ever. Which is why the pages of human history are soaked in blood. We need to make this next stage on the board of our evolution. I feel like we've left your question though. I know when I'm looking at a computer screen without questioning whether it's an illusion, but can you do that philosophically speaking? Can you break that example down into steps? So is the goal happiness or lifespan? Well, why one or the other? Don't want to get away from your question though. Can you give me another example? Or the most meaningful example? The one that made you wonder? I feel like I'm not at the crux of your question. But yeah, happiness and lifespan. So with that expertise, because that's in the future and your perception isn't, there are all these exampled out. Oh, okay. Good thing I asked you these questions because I didn't have to waste my energy with someone who didn't have a real question. That's the thing. If it's a question, you got to hold on to it. That's being on a quest. It's not a meaningful question, then who cares? So what was the meaning behind it? Why did you care in the first place? Or maybe you had an answer. Maybe you wanted to share an insight. Did you have an answer to that? What was the question? Reality and relativity. How do you see the difference? Maybe that was the idea. You had an insight into distinguishing between relativity and knowing. It is what we're working on. So, no predictions about the future. So, in terms of conclusions, you can't make conclusions about the future. It's curious to know if you're teaching or on a quest yourself. That's a tricky one. There aren't a lot of people I talk to specifically because not enough people have woken up to the importance of what we're doing here. So I don't know if I'd say I'm teaching anyone. It's more like we're learning how to read. We're going through the process of reading. And I'm saying it out loud as we go through it, so you can follow along or ask questions. Like I suppose if I was teaching, I'd know more about the specific individuals, so I could, like we're doing in our conversation now, so I could target my responses to where you're at. That's why I want to know, why did you ask this question? Like, what are you seeing, or what are you interested in, or what are you stuck on? Like, what's confusing you? Then I can tailor my responses to meet you where you're at, and hopefully we can wonder about the next stage based on where you're at, or what's there to be seen. It's more like learning how to read. But also it's our human purpose. So in another way, we are doing our intended human function, reflecting on the nature of human problems, belief. It's all relative or relativity. The nature of human excellence, understanding the dialectic, and testing our understanding with our friends who have a similar noble spirit. So as a conclusion, you can't make conclusions. No predictions about the future, which could lead to not just absurdities, but danger or catastrophes. Within our soul, as we repeat the same problem that we have over and over again until it will eventually cause our demise. That's called fate. You can't believe your way out of it. The only way of escaping it would be understanding. Understanding is called the dialectic, and the specific skill of using the dialectic to get to the root cause of your own personal belief. We're addressing belief as a whole, but your own personal belief is called philosophical midwifery. Therefore, the only true, legitimate method of psychotherapy. The only validated, scientifically validated form of psychotherapy as well, funnily enough. And there's an orange book that we've read the first few chapters of called Philosophical Midwifery, a new paradigm of understanding human problems. There's a shorter version called Pocket Pierre that comes. You can also buy a book called Unblocking to go along with it. Those two are more accessible, without which you will face danger and catastrophes. So these are ways of testing whether the belief is true. Can it participate in universal principles, or are you a hypocrite? One rule for me, one rule for thee. Is there any logic, or is the logic silly or circular? It's true because I say it's true. The Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. Division. If we pushed the implications, if we acted as if it was true, what would follow? And if we do that, does it lead to absurdities? There's the third way of proving that an idea is false. And finally, conclusions. Can it make predictions about the future? Can it judge those absurdities that might follow? Without that, there's no expertise, and danger follows, or catastrophes follow. All right, so that's a little dialectic there on the idea itself. So really what we've got is a dialectic within the definition of that belief, that it's all relative. Well, hang on a second. How does it function? We just explained it. No. How does it function in relation to truth? Well, how do we apprehend truth? What's the method? What do we have at our disposal as evolved beings or at the level of evolution where we can relate to truth? Well, how does it function or demonstrate, to use the language of the dialectic we're here to learn, demonstrate? That's self to other. So we could say that's a nice definition or dialectic within dialectic, or dialectic within the definition of what it is, but how does it function to some other? Now for this stage, you pick the other. Just as Nitro picked an example of how does truth versus relativity function in relation to computers. It's a little difficult for me to answer because can you know if your computer is there? It seems there. So often we pick an other, so that's self or the subject in question, and the other we pick. It's a good idea to pick what's most personally significant or meaningful. What's most personally or meaningful or significant to us here? Understanding. Other is understanding. how does it relate to reason or reason and evidence? So how does it relate to evidence? Well, we saw in the book so far that the evidence changes. So we can say evidence is changed beliefs never change. Makes sense, right? If being a member of your family means you have to believe this or that thing that your family always believes, how can you be a member of that family if you don't carry that belief? How can you go to Sunday picnic at Christian picnic day if you don't believe in Jesus? How can you be a member of that group if you don't believe that Jesus is whatever? Beliefs always stay. Always stay the same. We call that moving the goalposts. That could be a definition. An example or demonstration of that. Rapture. The rapture was, or Armageddon, let's just say rapture, was supposed to happen in Paul's lifetime 2,000 years ago. Doesn't happen. And what do the Christians say? No, this year, in my lifetime it will come. Doesn't happen. No, the next year. No, the next century. No, the next. 2012 it will happen. What else do we have? So we can do the other part of understanding. Evidence and reason. Ousia and logos. Reasoned reflection and confirmed in our experience. That's why we're doing it. We can go through the reasoned reflection on why the dialectic is the method of understanding, the meaning of life, our purpose, necessary to understanding and solving problems, necessary to reaching our excellence, necessary to live well and die well, and have a more positive reincarnation, or even escape the reincarnation into this realm of Hades ruled by the unjust and ignorant. Fantastic, but we have to have definition and demonstration. We have to understand it and do it. So if this is the evidence or the doing, we also need how does it's all relative relate to reason. And we're getting this from Harry. Reason is blocked or sabotaged through tangents, distractions. Hey, don't talk about Israel's genocide. Talk about Hamas. Don't you condemn Hamas? Hamas. Right? Don't talk about Trump's injustice. What about Joe Biden? Don't talk about Epstein Island and all of the current billionaires in those files. Talk about Bill Clinton. Tangents. All kinds of sabotage that we see And that's, if there's anything we can learn from this current age, is all of the different varieties of sabotages to reason. Because that's literally, we have 24-hour news networks that do nothing other than sabotage reason reflection. Fox News, CNN, all of the mainstream news networks, all of the billionaire-owned social media platforms, all of the religions, all of the political figures, all of the CEOs, they do nothing other than sabotage reason reflection, because reason reflection challenges what's false, what's unjust, and what they need people to believe so they can play out their false injustice. Reason is blocked or sabotaged, or outright silenced. Hey, shut up, you dumb broad, Harry might say to Aaliyah. He might say,
Very interesting crap.
he might say very interesting crap,
Brain rot escalates.
in order to silence her, and hopefully Aaliyah will say,
It's a total shit show.
and then she will say,
Dumbass.
So, can we get a demonstration of reason being blocked or sabotaged or silenced from the text we're reading? That's part of, this is why it's reading. We're using the text. Harry dips. Harry dips to the cuck chair. Don't say that, chat. Don't say Harry is on the cuck chair. That's not a nice thing to say.
Goon, 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 goon.
That's just gooner talk.
Goons of gooners.
These are gooners. Harry dips. Harry leaves. Conversation. And of course, we've seen many ways of doing that. I'm not talking to you, you're an anti-Semite. Ha ha ha. I never have to give the reasoning why I should do a genocide. Ha 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 ha. I'm not talking to you, you're not qualified. I'm not talking to you, blah 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 blah. And that's a reverse engineering a justification to leave the conversation. Harry says, don't trust him. Don't trust him. Which is personal attacks. The people who get into personal attacks, you know they are in a problem. Why? Because they're not exploring the validity of an idea. They are trying to sabotage or distract. Put distract in there as well. To block or sabotage or silence or distract from the reasons why they believe what they believe. Notice, someone with understanding we saw in the text would be delighted when asked a question, hey, what convinced you of what you think? Oh, I know it, I see it, I understand it, so I can have fun explaining it. That's the difference. People who are believers, they don't have fun explaining it because, as the Oracle says,
People don't logic their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way into stupid positions. That's belief. So personal attacks. Harry says, not only don't trust him, but don't trust, what was it? Logic, what was it? Let me find it in text. Here we have. Testing our understanding, see another person's understanding. Let's make you unlocked. Where does Harry start to we call it get triggered? Have his cortisol level spiked. Oh, here's another one you could put into that dialectic from before. If it's all perception, then a dog or a cat or a goat or a pig or a baby or a newborn baby or a man can all perceive the same thing, so they all have the same knowledge. You're as dumb as a newborn baby or a pig if you have the belief that it's all relative. That's the fun you can have with understanding. Where does he get butthurt? He ends up judging that men who are wise are those who agree with him. No, he freaks out somewhere. Hold. Trust. What? Something like logic. Don't trust his logic or rhetoric. Here we go. Aaliyah, don't fall for his rhetorical arguments. Just stay in there and stick to the position, because there's nothing weak about the position. He also says, another fun, nearsighted people are really wise about things close to them. Lovers turn off the light, they won't know how to relate to their beloved. Pause. Can't find it. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Arguments, maybe? Here we go. Logical arguments are deceptive. Hooray, we found it. And he calls it rhetoric as well. Oh yeah, it was right there. It's the last thing we read last time. Okay. So. Oh, this is an example of sabotaging or silence reasoning itself. Don't trust logic. Logos attacks. Are there more in that category? Hey, the dialectic is stupid. Just be a debate pervert.
Perverts. Let's be honest, perverts.
Isn't that the whole idea of philosophy? Learning a whole bunch of long words so you can justify your own beliefs and defend your beliefs? Yes, because Spinoza said this, and Epicletus said this, and therefore this great scholar Hegel said this, and therefore I agree with all of my opinions. I'm a very smart boy. I've got a PhD. Philodoxia, academic philosophy. Don't trust the dialectic. Don't trust logic. Don't trust reason. Oh, and if all of these other academic philosophers are doing the opposite of philosophy, then real philosophy mustn't exist. Just as if all of these religious people lie about the nature of the divine, there is no divine. Just as all these politicians lie about justice, there is no justice. Red herring arguments, or straw man arguments. Attacking the logos. So another way you can block or sabotage reason or distract is us versus them. Competition. Reframing. And of course we have competition, or so competition, an example of that, demonstration of that from the book. Harry's saying, Aaliyah, you're on my team. I thought you were on my team. I thought you were on my team. And of course, when all that fails, what do believers do to sabotage the literal meaning of life and reason for their own fucking birth, but all of us being here? What do they do to sabotage the dialectic or the logos? Fight. Just fight. Don't need a reason. Don't like your face. Punch. How dare you not challenge my beliefs? Punch. You're a anti-Semite. Punch. Genocide. Bomb. It's a way of, endless warfare is the abandonment of the rational and the intelligible. It's a distraction from reasoning, what we're here for, because reasoning leads to truth and solves problems caused by belief. So that's another way of doing a dialectic. Focusing on the two main categories, definition and demonstration. You could go ahead and do the division stage, and although you could say that this demonstration does contain a lot of divisions, I could see how they play out and then come to a conclusion. So, if that's the definition, a dialectic of the definition of its all relative, and then another dialectic on, or mini dialectic on how it functions, can we go one step further and see how that functioning divides up? So division is other to other. So we've got our other, we've just defined previous, just there. Other was there, which was the conflict belief functions, and in particular this belief, but belief in principle or belief, functions in conflict with reason and evidence, as we've just demonstrated and defined. Reason and evidence. So then we have to pick another other. Another other. How does this conflict and evidence relate to what are we interested in? Proving whether something's true. Truth. Or proving truth. What have we read last time? Color, this one. We saw dramatic zoom. I'm gonna overuse my soundboard because I like to. I don't have a lot of chatters that talk to me all the time. And then the music drops out for the dramatic sting. So I have to compensate until more people awaken to philosophy. I have to compensate with my soundboard. Are you happy with that?
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever? It's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
Oh my goodness, well, I apologize. But it's interesting for me.
I have a sickness for the thickness.
Oh, okay.
That one's perfect and exactly
Thank
the
you.
case.
Thank you, Emma. What do you think, Arum?
Funny, cool, and accents. Come on.
Come on. See?
It's not being crazy. It's called
Right.
reaching a higher sense of being.
That's right. I'm not crazy for abusing my soundboard. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. I'm at a higher state of being. Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy up in here. And we have AI spam. AI spam saying AI viewers. AI selling AI. We're in a circular loop of absurdity. Where is it? Yeah. A circular loop of absurdity with AI right now. We've got an AI man saying AI subscribers. Oh, and I took out my spam button. Anyway. I replaced it with my gasp button. How dare I?
Brain rot escalates.
That's you, AI. Brain rot's for you.
You know what? Suck my dick.
Oh my goodness, that's for AI. Anyway. So, division, that what we just defined is the functioning or demonstration. How does that demonstration relate to another other? And for us, what's most interesting or relevant or meaningful? Proving truth. Well, the whole reason I did this was because I was supposed to go to here now. We don't need our bros. You can all get out of here. We concluded that, yes. Theories must be capable of being surpassed by newer theories. They must be capable of being disproven. They must be capable of being rejected. And proven true. So we've got 4 categories. When we see a 4, we say, and then we say,
If you don't know, now you know.
you know, if you want to know, let's put them in a dialectic, right?
Cool as a cuke.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles is what the kids are saying today. That means yes, because it will get your testosterone up. I don't know. Forget I said any of that. That was just too much soundboard. That was silly. All right. So, must be capable of being proven true, disproven, or proven false. They must be able to be surpassed. And this gives us a fantastic... This book's amazing, man. This book's so good. This book was written by a goddamn genius, literally. As much of a genius I've ever seen in a person. Anyway. Surpass. Why am I saying that? Because another way of understanding the dialectic, which is, of course, the whole reason we're here as human beings, is, you take this definition, demonstration, division that we've also been looking at in terms of self to itself, self to another, other to other others, which is where we're on here. Right. You could also see it as an expression of, as we see, true, false, and both. Which we said are the three things that you could put into any specific category. So a dialectic within the dialectic. When you're defining the thing itself in relation to itself, you can say things that are true about it, or that must be true in the universe where it exists. You can say what's false about it, or what you would never say about the subject. And you could say about it something that is true and isn't true at different times that will show its scope or limitations. Just as we did a dialectic within a dialectic here, with our definition of it's all relative. We did a little dialectic within the definition. It's turtles all the way down, people. The same structure of reality unfolds and unfolds and unfolds and unfolds. Which is neat because we can see even in our ignorance, even in how beliefs are passed on, it is a reflection of truth. And we see that in the map. While the experience of knowing we call an initiation experience, waking us up to philosophy, or love of understanding can wake people up to philosophy. So too, when we get our first beliefs, someone must have appeared true and wise and beautiful and just and good. And we walk away with not understanding, which comes from true spiritual experiences or spiritual initiation, but with our own false images of ourselves. So the same principles are unfolding and diminishing levels of reality. Our job is to climb that ladder back up, cross the green line from the distortion to the real, and then the purple line from the real to the ultimate. And by the way, have you heard of an activity that facilitates or reflects on, so bringing back into experience through imagination, peak experiences, either of mind or of self, but in an environment where you are in the most ideal conditions to reflect on it and understand it, fulfilling both necessary qualities of wisdom. Make wisdom bigger. That's wisdom. And down here it's ignorance. By the way, how are your dreams going? Are you paying more attention to your dreams since you've been reading this book along with us? You might recognize that a lot of your dreams are... Let's make some space for this. You might recognize that as you start to read your dreams the same way we're learning how to read this text, applying the dialectic to it, you might recognize that most of your beliefs seem to be dramatic demonstrations of your ignorance, of the sorts of repeating cycles of problems caused by your beliefs. Have you noticed that? Similar state of mind that you've been going through in the present, maybe had a history in your past? Most dreams are about our ignorance, you might have noticed. Have you started to notice that? Have you noticed a symmetry, a structural similarity between what you experience in your dreams and analogically, analogically, your current life or your past or your problems? Now, if you're lucky, and if you're genuine, and you're also reading this kind of a work with us or with another group, if you're lucky enough to have people like that in your life, I envy you, then you might notice your mind works with you. The work you are doing in understanding knowledge or the self might be accompanied in your dreams by experiences of mind or self. Interesting. Is it interesting?
Making ice cream is a good and courageous thing.
I'm sick of Emma telling me how courageous it is to make ice cream. I'm removing that from my board.
She's a moron. She's a bonked on the head individual, BHI.
I coined that.
Well, it's clever that you coined it, but I don't think you should call her a BHI for talking about ice cream. So, if that's the case, if we can have experiences of insight or enlightenment experiences or peak experiences, either of the clarity and purity of self or the profundity and brilliant luminosity of knowing, the ultimate and penultimate, and dream analysis requires you or uses this dialectic of question and answers that Joseph is demonstrating and we are defining and demonstrating for ourselves so we can master it. In dream analysis, we do the very same thing, but not on the book, on your dreams. Encouraging you to remember those peak experiences, which might bring you into that experience in some way, along with asking you questions about it relative to the dialectic we're applying so that you can understand what that experience is. That's why we have to be reading, so you can have some sort of context and language to understand it. Relative to the drama of your life that your dreams also point to. And relative to understanding itself, the dialectic. Therefore, the activity that is the most ideal conditions for experience or evidence and understanding, knowing and understanding, evidence and reasoning, the things that we've been talking about with proving truth, for you personally is dream analysis. So the ideal or the archetype of the spiritual method is dream analysis. You don't have to sit on a mat for 40 years and hope and pray that you have a peak experience. Your dreams will provide what you need relative to your level of development. And you don't have to imagine what it means or use your belief systems to make sense of your experiences or make sense of your blocks to your experiences. There's a method. It's called the dialectic. It's what we're here to learn. So therefore, it's also the model for spirituality. And the structural similarity is that same ideal conditions is reflected in the least ideal conditions. The peak experience is not had by you. It's modeled in appearance by some authority figure in belief. Belief is always someone else. It's always some authority figure. That's what belief means. Also, when we get our fundamental pathologos, sick beliefs, pathos, sick, logos, sick reasoning or belief, we are not in those ideal conditions for dialectic, questions, answers, artful use of questions, judging answers, and progressing. The ideal art or the archetypical art functions in dream analysis, and those conditions are not present when you're at home and mummy or daddy finally shows themselves as their most beautiful and real. You are not allowed to ask questions or challenge that, because that's what they believe the most. Everything Harry is demonstrating in how he is fighting, arguing, he's being a bit of a dick, he's being rude, he's doing personal attacks, all of that shit he's getting away with. Imagine how much more shit someone can get away with when they're not in public and it's just a 5-year-old. And you've been spending your life being the Noah, being the God priest of the house your whole life. And not only that, what the kid is asking questions about or challenging isn't just a regular belief, it's the most fundamental, highest peak experience that person's whole life has been about getting to. So take the conflict that we are experiencing from Harry just in public questioning a regular belief and times it by 1,000. That's the danger or the least ideal conditions for us as children from which we develop our fundamental belief about ourselves. Sacrificing our mind, developing a fear of mind that we have to overcome in what we do here, in our reading, in our midwifery, in our dream analysis, and in our sharing with others. 4 steps. We are overcoming that fundamental fear of mind that is the root cause of all human problems, because it's the functioning of our pathologos beliefs, which itself is a imitation or a distorted reflection of the same structural similarity, the same aspects of the ideal spiritual experience. So it's because our soul seeks spiritual enlightenment and can have it that makes our problems so strong in the human condition. The human condition is we oppose crossing this green line. Because as the Oracle says,
personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change.
It's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
So as the kids are saying, as was said by the soundboard, the Oracle, personality maxing. It's when our beliefs we take as our self-identity, it's the hardest to change. The reason why it's the hardest to change is the nature of the human condition. The human condition is we all get this, and the human problem is not just that we are unaware of truth. Ignorance isn't just being aware, it's thinking you know something you don't and fighting against the real. Human beings, and if you've been a philosopher for any length of time, you'll know this, if you present the most beneficial and good thing that they want and need, they will act in the most savage, stupid, cruel way in response. Because that's what's required to block what is most good and real. Why do we have to block what's most good and real? Because we're here to learn. We're here to address a false image of ourselves that needs to survive long enough for us to wake up and learn the art we're here to learn. So as a kind of double-edged sword, we have what we need to maintain our problems so that our problems keep an intelligibility. As a puzzle we're here to solve in our life, causing our repeating cycles of problems to give us some sort of stakes and impetus to wake up and do philosophy, real philosophy, what we do here. So that's good. But the bad side is your problems, in order to maintain that coherence, do everything in its power to block you from doing philosophy. So the worst, most ignorant people who champion beliefs, the Donald Trumps and Netanyahus and Hitlers and Elon Musks of the world and popes of the world, the worst of our species, we give all of the resources to and all of the power to do all their injustice to, while the Socrateses of the world, we kill and we hate and we gang up on and we mock and we try and exile or crucify. That's why it takes courage and character and the double-edged sword of human problems, which demonstrates how strong the human problem is. That it could only have that strength, so the appearance of enlightenment, of mind, being, intellect, can only have that effect if we have a soul that seeks the real so much that its distorted appearance becomes the strongest force in the universe and in our lives. Which would tell you something about two things: the need for courage, character, open-mindedness, and seeking excellence to do what you're here to do, but also that we're all seeking enlightenment. So that's interesting. And notice, what's wisdom? The direct experience and understanding, which is why dream analysis is the archetype or the ideal activity or the spiritual ritual, you could call it. Spiritual activity. And it's you not having that ousia, someone else, in their appearance, and not having the ideal conditions to ask questions and reflect with understanding, that's the cause or the generation of that most dangerous and powerful force in the universe, the cause of all human problems, the pathologos. Isn't it interesting that reality has that analogical, unfolding, structural similarity principle to it, or the logos, we call it. Also note that what we said was the actual model of enlightenment, knowing or your own direct experience as the evidence, and understanding the ideal. What do you know? We are using both of them all the way through this book, through this dialogue, at this lovely cafe. Because another way of saying knowing and understanding, or ousia and logos, is evidence and reason. Your own direct experience. Now, evidence often talks about physical perception, but doesn't have to be. It can ultimately, it's that direct experience, mind turning around to know itself in ousia. So, and of course, the logos. So there's our knowing and understanding. That's the nature of wisdom. And of course, beyond wisdom, we're looking for the same. How do we know the self, and how do we understand the self? Self-logos. So, we are participating in a kind of mini enlightenment activity when we reflect on beliefs or ideas, seeking, following reason and evidence, or definition and demonstration. Definition, reason, reflection through words; demonstration, applying it in your own experience. Isn't that neat? And if we're calling that new other that we picked understanding, we can see why the greatest art and the spiritual method And what we're doing here and how to move from belief to understanding is understanding. Therefore, the greatest art dianoia, or the love of understanding. That's what we're awakening. Understanding. Greater than philosophy or the love of wisdom, because what's it doing all the way up there? Because while wisdom is also evidence and reason, it's nous and dianoia, or ousia and logos, knowing and understanding. Understanding can also address problems. It's also the method to cross that line to reach wisdom. It's understanding that we can apply to our peak experiences, ideally in dream analysis or midwifery, to perfect our wisdom. And of course, the structural similarities, the same kinds of questions we ask to go from beliefs in ignorance and appearance to truth, reality, wisdom, we can also ask of that peak experience to ask to wonder about its cause, the self, or what's experiencing even that peak experience. Or if all of the aspects that we are understanding, self-beauty, self-logos, or logos itself, beauty itself, justice itself, they all use the word self as an adjective. What's the noun as the cause? What's the self? So, has a lot more functions and can reach a higher level beyond wisdom, making philodianoia the ultimate subject that we all should be learning, beyond even philosophy. Tell your friends. So, did a definition dialectic on using what we've seen in the text, how we prove whether or not it's true as well. So, definition of what it's all relative or beliefs itself. We're just using the most common and dangerous belief. It doesn't by definition, it can't relate to universal principles being below that green line. Oh, it's one way of proving it's not true. Its justification, or the way it demonstrates its own definition, is circular. If it seems true, it is true. Okay, what convinced you of that? Well, that belief seemed true to me, I guess. The Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. Joseph Smith is the new Jesus because Joseph Smith told us with his magic rocks. Mormons.
Goon, 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 goon.
All they do is wear magic underpants and do soaking.
Gooner bait.
And it's just gooner bait.
Queen of gooning.
Hey, she's not the queen of
They're a
gooning.
weirdo.
They're a weirdo. So, can also prove the idea wrong in that. Another way of proving it wrong is divisions. All of the ways you can apply it. Take it as if it's true, and it leads to absurdities. And this is where we have fun, by the way. That's where the joy in whimsy is. Whimsy. Joy in whimsy. Look at all the absurdities. Turn off the lights. Oh my god. I don't know my girlfriend or how to relate to her. Oh, a pig is looking at the same thing I'm looking at. The pig is just as smart as me. If knowledge is perception. And finally, how does it conclude? Can it make conclusions itself? By definition. It can't make conclusions itself by definition because the definition is it's all relative to perception, and therefore it can't perceive the future as actual expertise can. So a dialectic there on by definition. How it functions to another. We picked the other. We picked understanding or evidence and reason. Ousia and logos. Experience and reason. Understanding or evidence. Evidence and reason. Evidence is change, always moving the goalposts. You can never prove the belief wrong because you can always move the goalposts. And so, hey, when you said that Trump would make groceries affordable on day one, he didn't. Still a Trumper? Yes, I'm still a Trumper. Yes. But the evidence? No. Evidence? Maybe he was joking. Maybe he meant day one of next year. Maybe groceries are cheaper. And it's just your belief that it's not cheaper. And of course, the one that they were pointing to was the big one. Armageddon and rapture that the Christians, Abrahamics, modern Christians believe Paul. Jesus didn't say anything about blowing up the world so Jesus comes back. That's all made up by Paul, who himself tried to institute his own personal beliefs by blocking, sabotaging, and distracting from what Jesus talks about in the Gospel of Mark, the need for understanding. His parables through analogy, and the state and heaven not being a place in the clouds, you idiots, but a state of mind. So very influenced by the Hellenic philosophers that lived nearby, up until his peak experience, and then of course, well, that's what we explored in the previous book. You can check that out. So, yes, it was supposed to happen 2,000 years ago, but Pauline Jews, what we call Christians today, Paul tried to unify the circumcised and uncircumcised in his belief-based tradition. That's what we call modern Christianity. Pauline Jews. What a weird thing to say. Unify the circumcised and uncircumcised. Pauline was a bit of a freak. He killed Christians for fun, by the way. There you go. But if you tell that to a Christian, oh no, he changed his mind. He magically stopped doing that. His problems just magicked away. He had a conversion experience. And then magically his problems just disappeared. Changing evidence to suit their belief. Evidence has changed, beliefs stay the same, and the example is every year Christian will say, Jesus is coming back and the world will end. And it just keeps changing. Goalposts keep moving. How do we relate to, that's how believers relate to evidence. Reason, how do believers relate to reason? They block it, sabotage it, silence it, or distract it. Leave the conversation. Personal attacks, don't trust him, says Harry in the book. Don't trust logic. A philosopher. Literally, I was one of the first reactions in one of the few spaces in our world where people are engaged in reasoned reflection on evidence is the majority report with Emma.
Spit on me.
Hey, calm down, Emma.
Goon, 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 goon.
And as soon as I entered the chat room on the for that show that I was a fan of, they saw the word philosopher in my name, spammer in chat, and immediately ban. Philosopher, I know what you probably think. Get out of here. You don't like thinkers here. And my comment to them was, isn't that the whole point of this fucking channel that you're supposed to be moderating? Sharing ideas so we can learn through reasoned reflection with evidence. Fucking majority reports moderators are shit. I'm confused to this day why they don't do anything about it, but hey, maybe it's a funnel into their Patreon or something, I don't know. Emma?
It's a total shit show.
That's what I've been saying. So, block, sabotage, silence, or distract. From reason. Having chud weeb moderators on Twitch and YouTube is one way of doing that. Personal attacks, attacking reason itself, us versus them framing. Again, I got all of this, by the way. One moderator said, "You're probably that other group." Other one said, "Philosopher, whoa, I know philosophers, I don't like them." Personal attacks, "You're probably like this." Competition, Harry saying, "I thought you were on my team." Reframing the dialectic as competition. And when that doesn't work, fight. Just pick a fight. Because fighting or war is the abandonment of the intelligible. Savage, caveman, zombie, brainwashed, NPC, or in one word, all of those qualities, pathologos bullshit. And so Harry's about to start a fight. That's where we are in the text. That's how it functions. And that functioning, opposing truth and evidence, means it can't be proven true. If it's fundamentally opposed to what proves something true, reason and evidence or understanding, it can't also be proven false. If a belief can't be proven false, hey, there's a magic pixie on my shoulder that says I should have all of the money. Based on what? Hey, shut up. No, but what proof do you have that there's a magic pixie that says that you get all the wealth? Oh no, you can't prove it's false. Isn't that what the Jews are saying justifies their genocide against the Palestinians? Isn't that what the monarchy says justifies their right to all of the stuffs? God says that they're king, the divine right to rule. Isn't that what every religious official for all time, including Joseph Smith and his scam on the Mormon people? Gooners?
Goon, 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 goon.
Can't be proven false. Belief can't be proven false. Can't be surpassed. So that's both. You have to be able to see what part of it is true. Oh, Jesus said this stuff about understanding. Great. What's false about it? But when he had his peak experience, he failed to engage in the dialectic and dream analysis to understand it and purify his beliefs, and so his beliefs took over, as they do, the most powerful force in the universe, we called it a moment ago, causing his tragic demise, his inevitable danger or catastrophe, crucifixion. Therefore, we could improve on the story of Jesus. Again, read that. We've got episodes on that book, Socrates and Jesus, the Dialogue in Heaven. We can improve on that. Oh, try it. Go into any Christian church. There are hundreds of thousands, all with different opinions and beliefs about what the true religion is. Go into any one of them and say, you know what? I can improve on what you've got here. I can go beyond Jesus. See what they say. Hey, not just in religions. Go into anyone. Go into an ashram. Go into a Buddhist temple. Go into a Taoist zendo. Go into a Hindu temple or whatever. People who spend their whole lives trying to reach enlightenment. Who you would think would want this more than anyone. And say, hey, you know this Buddha guy. I can improve on it, which would help you. How's your meditation going? Oh, you're having blocks? You could add the logos and dialectic into your own tradition. You could still shave your head and wear an orange robe or whatever. Call yourself a Buddhist if you want. Just add some logos in, and you could find the things that are blocking your meditation, the random thoughts, the thoughts that come into block or sabotage or distract from your meditation goals, saying your mantra, contemplating your koan, looking at that candle, counting your breath, whatever it is. You can understand that it's the functioning of certain beliefs that you can address through the dialectic, improving what you do. Go into any one of those places and say that and see what happens. Now, I'm saying that in a kind of rhetorical way, but I'm not, in a sense. Maybe you're more charming than I am. I've seen a couple of people out there who are champions of understanding and lovers of understanding, and they have a far greater appeal than I have on this channel. Maybe you could have some success. It would all depend on the level of courage and character, curiosity and openness to actually seeking wisdom, and the courage to sacrifice their beliefs, including their identity. Now, you might say to a Buddhist, isn't that the whole point of what you're doing? That all idea of self is a distraction from nirvana? Don't you want to remove the ego? So, shouldn't you be the most courageous to drop your image of self? Give it a shot. And let us know how you go. Join the Discord. But normally you're met with a punch in the nose, or getting sued, or I don't know, getting ignored if you're lucky. So, division. Surpass requires both seeing what's true, seeing what's false, and improving on it or surpassing it. Can't do that with belief. So didn't we have 4? Theories must be capable of being surpassed by newer theories. If not, it's not a theory. Simply put, a theory should be, in principle, capable of being disproved. Got that? But Harry's position can't be disproved, so it can't be rejected or surpassed by others. Clever, says Aaliyah. Therefore, we can conclude it's not a theory. It can never be proven true either. Alright, so we're back connected again. So, proven false also includes rejecting. Well, let's go to the last. So as a conclusion, now from this, can you come to a conclusion or an other that you can relate back to the self, back to the first subject? So as a result of this, our conclusion is we cannot judge. Cannot judge. Or, and cannot reject. If you can't judge whether or not it's true, false, or can be improved upon or surpassed, you cannot reject that belief. So here we can see a demonstration of conclusion having 2 parts. Conclusion has a synthesis. So synthesis. So synthesizing what followed. If you can't judge it true, you can't judge it false, you can't surpass it or relate to both, you cannot judge, because that's what judgment would require. You can't judge. And as a result or analysis, that would be the the synthesis or analysis. So that's the other. And that's the self that we relate it back to. Which makes it other in relation to self. But there's an extra part within the conclusion step, synthesis analysis. You cannot judge, and therefore, as a result, you cannot reject a belief. Meaning you're stuck. Oh, could that be why it's the fundamental cause of all human problems? Belief? You are stuck there because you cannot judge it? Why? Because you cannot relate to truth and evidence? Why? Because you cannot relate to principles. Circular logic leads to absurdities. You can't predict the consequences. Can't relate to evidence and reason. Therefore you can't. The other is relate to truth. You can't prove it true, prove it false, surpass it, and cannot judge. Or reject. In relation to truth. Prove true. So these synthesis analysis relates to truth. You cannot prove it true, you cannot judge it as true, and you cannot reject it if it ain't. So you're stuck. There's a division dialectic. Giving us the triad as well that exists within. Now, a great example of this triad of definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion is what we are seeing as the dialectic itself. What are we doing? We're reading the text one of the I'm disconnected again. Okay, we're back. So we're reading the text to learn the truth about the dialectic and to practice the truth of the dialectic. We said that the way of purifying ourselves from what's false is to use the dialectic on our problems. That's called philosophical midwifery. The highest demonstration of the dialectic is removing what's false. Philosophical midwifery. Still connected? Yep. And we said the ideal spiritual activity and the ideal human activity, the necessary human activity to remove problems in midwifery and reach excellence in the truth, is dream analysis, which gives you both, as we talked about earlier today. Gives you dramatic representation, a puzzle to solve about your problems, but also gives you peak experiences. And now it says dream analysis. And of course, as a conclusion, share. Can you write your own dialogues? Can you create your own content? You make your own video games. Yesterday we talked about, someone in chat was talking about a movie, and we reflected on how we could use that movie to share. By the way, that's called mythology. When you use divine characters to mythologically represent what you've gone through in these three activities, that's called theology. Theology isn't literal beliefs, as Harry demonstrates. It's a metaphorical representation of these principles of the dialectic and logos expressed in stories, so that it be taken with curiosity and analogy, not with certainty and literalism. And we are seeing Harry's state of mind. He's certain about his beliefs and he takes them literally, making him a sad person and an angry person and a blocked person. Whereas openness and the use of analogy, that would be our approach to beliefs. Because even your problems are not literal. They are messages. Your dreams are not literal. You take your dreams analogously too. So, there's our division. And the result of the division dialectic is you cannot judge and you cannot reject. You cannot judge truth and you cannot reject the false. So, one more to go. What have we seen is the conclusion of what we've read up to so far. So the conclusion for the dialectic on definition, a dialectic on division, a dialectic on definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. And isn't it interesting that we got to see different aspects? There's the main dialectic you could do here, also giving us the kinds of ways of testing whether or not something is true, the absurdity, catastrophes, circular logic, or inability to be universal. We saw the mini dialectic with just definition and demonstration. That's a good one to do. Like how we read. Get the reason to get the definitions, and we demonstrate it on the board or in our conversations with chatters. The best chatters.
I'm too pure.
Like Emma, too pure.
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome.
Thank you.
I said it.
Thank you. I'm glad you're saying it. That's important as well to remember that I'm handsome. And what do you say?
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mod you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
I would never spike my cortisol levels by your joy maxing. So I also am joy maxing because this is fun. We saw this dialectic giving us a demonstration of the three aspects within each of the things. When you're defining something, you could say what's true about it, what's false, or what's both. But also giving us an opportunity to nail down our human purpose, the dialectic of the dialectic. What's in store for us with the conclusion? So what was the conclusion they came to? Let's read that together. Let's jump in. So, unlike Mr. Harry, Aaliyah is able to follow the lead of the dialectician. Turn on my fan. So, following the lead of the dialectician, she's going to take up the argument from Harry. See how that? Let's go through. Start here. Let's take up Harry's challenge. Aaliyah, could someone claim that they believe something to be true for all mankind, and yet not believe it applies to themselves? That would be contradictory and rather strange. And what is contradictory could hardly be true, couldn't it? Not universal, we talked about. No. Well, this position that Harry believes to be true for all mankind is one he doesn't believe is true for himself, personally. Really? Yes. Should the person who holds that each man is a competent judge of the truth of whatever seems true to him, be able to judge the truth of even Harry's position? Or would you say, no, that's the one thing he can't be the judge of the truth of? According to the position, since he can judge all things, he would have to be a competent judge of even the truth of Harry's position. And in judging, could he either agree with that position and regard it as true, judge it as true, or disagree and regard it as false? Of course, that's what judging is all about. Now, about Harry. Doesn't his position claim that he can judge the truth of all things? For suppose we were to find that there was just one thing that Harry couldn't be the judge of. Well, in that case, since his position claims that he can judge all things, I suppose you would say that at that point he is abandoning his position. And according to his position, then is it possible for someone to either accept or reject his position? Of course it is. For the sake of the argument, would you be willing to hold his position as one you believe is true? Certainly, I could roleplay that. Cheeky Aaliyah. Cheeky Aaliyah.
The more holes, the better.
Hey, calm down, Emma. Then, in terms of the position, could you reject it as false if it seemed to you to be so? Sure, that would follow. And again, according to his view, could Harry either agree or disagree with your judgment, especially if your judgment was that his position was false? Sure. Wait a minute. He couldn't agree with my judgment, or else he would be agreeing that his position was false.
Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I ate a steak. I'm stupid. I'm drunk all the time, you know. I'm just like you.
Hey. That's not a fun way of characterizing Harry. So he'd be agreeing that his position was false. And what would follow if he rejected your judgment that his position was false? Well, for one thing, he would be saying that I can't judge his position as false. Oh! He'd be saying that there is one thing that I can't judge. I can't judge his position. But that would deny the truth of his own position, since he said anyone can judge all things in terms of the way it seems to them. Then it appears that if anyone agrees with him that his position is true, then he can judge their judgment as true. But if anyone dares to disagree with him and says his position is false, can he judge that? He can only judge it as an opinion, that's clear. But he can't deal with the implications of judging it true. There's our conclusion. Not just the most common and dangerous belief, it's all relative, but beliefs themselves. If any Jew justifying a genocide in Palestine comes along and said, well, why do you think you get to murder those people and take all of their land? Because it was promised to us 3,000 years ago. But what proves that to be a universal true principle? What evidence and reason? Oh, nothing. I just believe it. Why do you believe it? Well, it seems true. I was raised in a Jewish family, in a Jewish culture, with a Jewish religion. They all said this from when I was 1 year old. Is that your proof? Yes. Like all belief, you have to have faith. What does that mean? Faith? It means if it seems true, it is true. Oh. Thumbs down. Interesting. What if it was my belief that what you're doing is wrong and harmful? Or that all beliefs are wrong and harmful, and we shouldn't have any sort of rulership or governance based on belief, only expertise through understanding? Then you're wrong. You're anti-Semitic. Hang on a second. Wasn't the principle that whatever you have faith in, whatever you believe, is legitimate? Well, that's my belief. You can't say that. That's anti-Semitic. You mustn't. Ah, but if it seemed true to me that you were right, would you agree with me? Yes. Definitely. I mean, maybe you could still be a goyim, but maybe you're one of the goyim that we won't murder for whatever reason. So you're right. I agree that you would be right. Does MAGA do the same thing? Do Christians do the same thing? Is that it? Anyone who agrees with Joe Rogan or whatever gets to go on the Joe Rogan podcast? Anyone who disagrees? Anyone who agrees with the billionaire Epstein class tyrants? Bezos? Musk? All the bankers behind closed doors? Not closed doors, secret societies. You're right if you agree with them, but you can't judge them if you disagree. That's how all belief functions. Isn't that interesting? If belief is, it seems so, so it is, you can't make any, the conclusion is therefore you can't make any judgments about truth. All you can say is, that's just an opinion. Everything is just an opinion. You can't make any claims to truth, be it about God or divinity or the nature of intelligence or the meaning of life, be it about how we should run society, be it how we should run our economy, or be it how we should run our soul and our relationships. All you can say is, that's an opinion, nothing to do with truth. By the way, is that how all relationships end up? Two people carrying their own beliefs and opinions about what love is, about what beauty is, about what intimacy is, and they pick someone who already agrees with them, and they play out their roles, and their fantasies, and their drama. And then if someone has an opposing opinion or belief, they get into a conflict, and they break up or fight, or maybe the fight is part of the belief about what love means. What would it be like if your soul and your relationships were ruled by not beliefs and opinions and a perception, but understanding, truth? Something to wonder about as we read. So he can't judge, he can only judge anything said as an opinion. He can't deal with the implications of judging it true. Joseph, what can he judge? It isn't isn't it true that he can only judge... Sorry, isn't it true that the only thing he can judge is what seems so? And very humorously, Aaliyah says, true. So here is her judging something as true in a way her boyf can't. All her boyf can say is, it seems so. But Aaliyah can judge, oh yeah, that's true. Because she's following reason. She's following the dialectic. She was willing to follow along at the beginning. That's a big thing. As someone who's been a dialectician for a very long time, very few people have the cojones.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
Bull testicles.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
To actually be open and brave enough to follow a dialectic, to answer a question honestly, and then answer the next question, and carry what you are. In the same way, in the dialectic, we carry where is it? Yeah. We define something, self in itself, and we carry that definition into the next stage. Oh, that self we've now defined, how does that function? Oh, that functioning we now defined, how does it function to another other? And so on, we carry with us. So it's a big deal. It's no joke. It's no joke. It's a big deal that Aaliyah said, go ahead, I'll gladly follow if you lead. Hooray for Aaliyah. So, all he can judge is if it seems so. He can't make any claims about truth. And Aaliyah says, true. But he can't judge whether something is or is not true or false. Right. So he can neither say that he can judge all things, nor can he believe another's judgment when they reject his position, even though that's the way it seems to them. There's our contradiction that we're looking for. Therefore, he cannot believe his own position. So that contradiction is in the soul. The conflicts that we have are to do with ideas or beliefs. That's our premise, isn't it? All beliefs, all human problems are caused by a belief, causing a conflict in the soul that also manifest or division in your relationships and how you approach video games and goals and fun and jobs and also how people rule different things. So it's primarily a conflict within the soul. The human condition, a war on mind waged by a loyalty to pathologos belief, functions first within the soul. You don't even believe your own beliefs. That's the cause of our anger and our conflict and injustice that we suffered. That becomes an anger that we carry and the cause of our projections. The fights that we have with the world, the revenge that we seek on the world, the sorts of people that seemingly magically are drawn into our life to demonstrate these conflicts, is because it's a conflict of the soul against self and mind. A conflict of belief against understanding. But we are understanding belief right now. So we're on the hero's journey.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
We're on the quest.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And you're a wizard, Harry. And the quest music of the game that shall not be played. It's just too good. Not good, but fun. If only I had an extra 10 years to invest in the MMORPG. All right. So, even though it's the way it seems to them, he can't believe them or allow them to judge, therefore he doesn't even believe his own position. What would it be like if the whole world was ruled by those who were not contradicting their own positions, who actually did apprehend universal principles, who actually could use that apprehension to apply them? Applied universal principles universally. Would that provide a universal benefit? Would that bring the world into a oneness? Would that be a goodness? And would we be aligned with truth? Oh, hang on a second. Didn't we say that goodness, oneness, and truth were the very words that describe mind? Is that why it's said to be the model? Anyway, so that's another thing you could do. As we're doing dialectics on belief, you could also use those points to create your own dialectic on a universe that didn't have belief or wasn't run by belief. What kind of a world, what kind of conversations, or what kind of relationships, or what kind of a soul would you have if you weren't ruled by belief, you were free of your pathologos beliefs, and you were instead following the logos or being ruled by understanding? Do both. It's a win-win.
You have the brain of a child.
What? I don't have a brain of a child.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
Thank you. I meant to press this button.
It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Right, Emma?
They're secretly turned on by it.
Well, they can be. That's fine. If it's secret.
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Ooh, it's filled with secrets. Okay. Enough.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Yeah, because we have fun. Right, so he cannot believe his own position. What does Aaliyah have to say about that? So he ends up like the man who judges that only the men who agree with him are wise. Oh, like Joe Rogan, like Trump, like Elon Musk, like the Pope, like the bishops, like the imams, like the rabbis, like the Mormon priests. All you can say is, you're wise if you agree with me. That's very interesting. Why is that? Because you can't accept the judgment of anyone who disagrees with you, meaning you've got an inner contradiction. All you can do is surround yourself with fellow believers. Oh, is that the entire essence of MAGA? Is that why the conservatives have rallies and the Democrats don't do shit? Because they're not appealing to belief-based people? Makes you think. Anyway, going off on a tangent there. Let's go back on track. So he ends up saying that he ends up like the man who only judges that the only men who agree with him are wise. Only the men who agree with him are wise. That's very interesting. Whoops. But Aaliyah, can it really be a theory? Well, why do you ask? Because theories must be capable of being surpassed by newer theories. If not, it ain't a theory. Simply put, a theory should, in principle, be capable of being disproven. But Harry's position can't be disproven. So it can't be rejected or surpassed by others. Clever. Therefore, we can conclude it's not a theory. It can never be proven true either. So what is it? A personal view or position of some sort. That's all. It's a personal view. Boring, mediocre, pointless. Hang on, what kind of viewpoint? Good question, Aaliyah. What do you call something that is asserted as true, but cannot either be proven or disproven? Something believed in and insisted upon, even after its inadequacies become visible, and yet cannot be rejected. Oh, what we came to, right? The end of the division was cannot judge and you cannot reject. What's that called? A prejudice! Or boo, actually. Boo. A prejudice. So? Is that enough for our conclusion? So as a result of the division, how did it end? By the way, we can learn about the structure of reality. As we're seeing, there is a likeness that unfolds as the self-logos reflects itself into diminished levels of reality and cognition that we move through. So we can see the conclusion, or the final result of this level becomes the beginning of the next level. So we can learn from this dialectic a principle about hierarchical levels of reality. So we see, what color? What color? This one here. So we see on a lower level, there's development to a peak. And what was the peak of the previous level becomes the bottom of the next level. That's called hyparxis. Earlier in the book, we talked about the idea that, hey, you can create a whole system, a complete intelligible system of reason and logic of the entire two-dimensional world called Euclid's The Elements of Geometry. But once you get to the end of it, you realize, hang on a second, there was a certain axiom or principle I had to take for granted to play the game. If A equals B, if I make a triangle that, triangle A, if I make triangle A, if I can use the postulates and propositions, like things that you can do and things you can use to create an equilateral triangle simply by using straight lines and circles. We looked at it last time. Do a straight line, for a circle on that, a circle here with that radius, and a circle here with that radius. Find where they connect. And then you can draw a straight line between that intersection. Oh, you've got an equilateral triangle. So if triangle A is equal to... triangle A is equal to triangle B, and then we make triangle C that's also equal to triangle B, then things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. Triangle A is therefore equal to triangle C. So if there was if for whatever reason in the development of Euclid or geometry, you needed to create two equilateral triangles, A and C, you could use this mean term B to do so. And Harry said, hey, by the way, that's not two-dimensional geometry, you idiot. You have to pick up, to prove that this principle is a principle, you'd have to pick up triangle C in three-dimensional space, move it over to triangle A, drop it down, and see that they're the same size. Meaning you have to leave the system. Giving rise to what's called Gödel's theorem. There is no system that's complete and self-contained. You have to use an axiom from a higher principle. Which is actually a good thing. Because if you realize that the pinnacle, or at the end of this, there was an idea at the top, the idea of a certain axiom of, what's it called? It's in the book. Let's find it in the book. Sit down there. Principle of coincidence? Congruence? No, not congruence. Lift up. Pick up. Triangle. Here we go. Congruent, yeah. You know the one from geometry where they try to prove two triangles are equal? No, I don't mean equal, I mean congruent. That's the word for it. So the principle of congruence. It's in the book. Hang on a second. What's that principle of congruence? Why, if two things are equal to the same thing, they're equal to each other? Likeness? Sameness? By the way, in learning to explore these ideas, are we becoming like Joseph? If Joseph is like Socrates or a dialectician, and we are becoming like Joseph, does that mean we are becoming equal to Socrates as a dialectician? Is that the principle that allows our movement from the personal opinions of belief to the transpersonal universal? Because of this axiom that extends beyond the physical world of two-dimensional geometry, allowing our minds to unify with the mind and our self to recognize it as the self? From the personal to the transpersonal, from the opinions to truth, from ignorance to wisdom. The principle of congruence. Therefore, at this lower physical world, hey, whatever you're interested in, music, math, whatever, see if you can understand it completely, like Euclid is an example. Also, the elements of theology is similar, but we'll start with Euclid. So within the physical world, there's this axiom that extends beyond it. A starting point for philosophy. But also, the premise or the axiom we are using is, for us to participate in understanding in the dialectic, there is a self or self-logos that unfolds into mind. So within the realm of self, the lowest aspect of self is the highest aspect of mind. And the lowest aspect of mind is the highest aspect of the soul. Anyway, why are we talking about that here? Because what we're left with, or the peak cannot judge and cannot reject, in the previous stage becomes the top of the next stage. So we can start our conclusion, the dialectic that starts with that as the definition. So the last stage, or the highest of the previous stage, becomes the beginning of the next stage. So our definition is, what was it? Cannot judge truth and cannot reject. Color? This one. Cannot judge based on truth cannot reject what is false. What is shown as false? What is proven as false? Cannot reject what is shown as false. So how would that function or demonstrate? Well, good thing we've got this book. What is Harry doing? What's Harry doing? What's Harry doing? You can fill this in. I'll give you something to do. Something to play with. What's Harry doing? That would be a demonstration of this definition from the previous stage below it. Now, as a result of Harry functioning in this way, what can we see or infer from the text as the divisions? Whatever this is Harry's doing, whatever Harry is doing, or self to other, it's that other that becomes the other to other others. So what would you put here? So the self, that's the defined self. That again, the same principle of hypoxis. We've improved it. We started with an idea of judgment, and we've defined it. So that becomes the next thing, and then that becomes, so it rolls over, or improves. As belief cannot learn, improve, extend, understanding through the dialectic can, allowing for our own spiritual evolution through cognitive functions and dimensions of reality to know mind itself. So that self then functions to another, and that functioning would have to function to another other. Can we see whatever you have put here as what Harry's doing? How does it relate to other others? How is it relating to, I don't know, how is Harry, so that in relation to, relating to Joseph? How is Harry relating to his girlfriend? His relationship, how is he relating to Aaliyah? How is Harry relating to the belief that binds him to ignorance and blocks him from participating in the literal meaning of life, philosophy, and the dialectic? A purpose for being here. How is he relating to the dialectic? Remember, we just pointed out that Aaliyah was relating to the dialectic by saying, we highlighted it. She said, and there's Aaliyah. Sit down, boys. Aaliyah said, we highlighted it a second ago. Oh, we went back to find the thing about the triangles. So, when asked to participate in the dialectic, Aaliyah related to the dialectic by saying, she said,
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
oh my goodness. Is that what she said? Emma, was that what she said?
Spit on me.
Emma!
You suck. You're ugly.
Hey,
Cookie maxing.
what? She didn't say cooking maxing, and she didn't say spit on me. You guys are all insane.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
That's what I'm saying. You're insane talking about bull testicles. Where did she say it? She said something positive. She said,
Do a poggers.
exactly. She said, do a poggers. She said,
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Fair enough. We should. Here you go. She said, if it's up to me, go ahead, I'll follow your lead. How many believers are willing to follow the lead of dialectic and understanding? For most people, it's like fucking pulling teeth. Even though it's the very thing we're here to do, and it's the thing that benefits us. Isn't it a curious world we're in? Full of these strange creatures called human beings who relate to the dialectic not in the way that Aaliyah does, making Aaliyah kind of a rare bird within the human race. Or a kind of hypoxis, maybe. At least in relation to her boyf. So go ahead, I'll follow your lead. That's what Aaliyah says. How is? Should be zooming in, and then we mog. And we mog the haters. How do you mog? I don't know what the moggers do. They do this one? I don't know. And then we zoom out, and we're on a different board. That was the whole intention of that. How is Harry relating to the dialectic? What else can you find in the book? So this gives us a structure to turn our perception or experience of the text into understanding, to gain understanding, to purify our own beliefs, because the more we see of this, the most common and the ethos, the zeitgeist of our age, the more we see it, the more we can purify ourselves from it, and of course, practicing the art we're here to do. How's Harry relating to? You do it. You do it. Now, what's that called? So from those divisions, those others, we synthesize that into a single other that we relate back to the self as conclusion. Oh, hello. Conclusion. What do we see? We saw so we started with it cannot be proven true and it cannot be rejected. We can see demonstrations of this in Harry. We can see that's for you to do. How does it demonstrate itself in his state of mind and his functioning and etc. etc. How is he demonstrating this? Divisions. How is he relating to Aaliyah? How is he relating to Josh? How is he relating to Joseph? How is he relating to the dialectic itself? And anything else that he should be relating to in a better way? It's a personal view. What kind of personal view? Prejudice. So, again, it's for you to do. I may be doing it wrong. You can do the dialectic in your own way. You can come to a different conclusion. But I'm going to stay with that specific word from the text and say, well, a synthesis we get from Joseph as a personal view what did you say? Personal view that cannot relate to truth and cannot reject what is false. This is how beliefs function. We are using again, the most common, the most dangerous, the most prevalent belief of our age, but it's belief. This is belief. All belief is this way. This is what belief is. Analysis. Again, it takes courage and character to accept that, or an open, curious mind, or a love of understanding, or maybe a peak experience that you really want to understand and get back to, maybe. And we can't abbreviate analysis because that looks like that.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Oh, I know, I deserve.
The woman? Ugh.
Hey, don't say that about the Oracle. Emma.
The dumbest amongst us are like public intellectuals. It's great.
That's the first time we've had that drop. The dumbest of us are public intellectuals? Yeah. Yeah, the philodoxia, the false idea of philosophy. So it's a personal view. What kind of personal view? So all of these, it's a kind of personal view. So as you go through these divisions to describe how Harry's relating to Joseph, Elia, the dialectic, or whatever else, synthesize this. Is there a certain idea or key feature that is prevalent throughout each? That seems to be the most important, seems to be the most repeating theme, or maybe is a hyparxis, the highest idea, because that will describe his personal view. That's for you to finish. And what that kind of personal view that cannot judge what is true and reject what is false is called a prejudice. Beliefs, in principle, are prejudices. And in particular, this one that everything is relative to personal opinion. Now, what's interesting about this specific one is it's a belief that saves belief. You can only want belief. People say everyone's entitled to their beliefs. You never hear people say everyone's entitled to broken legs. What? Doesn't make sense. Everyone's entitled to cancer. You doctors curing cancer, everyone's entitled to cancer. We never hear it. What do you mean you're entitled to a bad thing? Everyone's entitled to be genocided, says the Jews about the Palestinians. What the fuck? It's a bad thing. But the kind of belief that saves belief is just as good as knowing, understanding, wisdom, expertise. The dialectic we're here to master. Why would anyone be content with believing anything, especially about what's most important? The nature of reality, the nature of self, the nature of our soul, and the nature of our purpose. Politics, religion, etc., etc. It's this belief that saves all other beliefs by giving beliefs any sense of legitimacy. That's called a prejudice. Anyone who saves beliefs has a prejudice, because beliefs can't relate to universal principles, reason and evidence, cannot prove what's false, prove what's true, prove something false, cannot surpass a belief. Your beliefs don't improve or change, it's always the same belief. Relate to evidence and reason in an irrational and negative way, causing conflict, usually as the last resort. Cannot make predictions about the future. You can't believe if a politician says, well, I really want to make housing affordable, and I really want to make trains run on time. Really? How? Well, I just really believe it. I have a strong belief in it. Every reporter should vomit whenever a politician says, I strongly believe in. Fuck off with belief. Belief is prejudice. Demonstrate an understanding of the issue, of its causes and principles. Do a dialectic on the issue, number one. Do a dialectic on the rational steps to reach the goal that you will follow. and show how it will be followed objectively, irregardless of any personal beliefs or prejudices by you or anyone else in politics that might get in the way of doing that good thing. Applying a universal principle universally to universally benefit, be it universal transportation, housing, healthcare, access to food, water, all of it. It's very, very, very simple. Universal principles, that's it. What do you know? When you see the truth, it's simple. What opposes universal principles? By definition, belief. By demonstration, belief. By division, belief. By conclusion, belief. How does that belief function in relation to evidence and reason, or what's rational and verifiable? Throws evidence out the window, changes the goalposts, rejects evidence but never rejects the belief. How does it relate to reason? Blocks reason, sabotage reasons, waffles, politicians waffle, go on monologues, they never engage in a dialectic as we should be. All reporters should be dialecticians. All people who in any sort of authority position must follow the dialectic rationally. That should be step one, rule one of your job. If you are abandoning the dialectic, you're abandoning rationality and intelligibility. You will only ever do harm, because the dialectic is understanding and beliefs, as we have seen by reading this goddamn banger of a book. So simple, very easy questions, very relatable people, modern situation, easy to read. We're only, 6 or 7 episodes in? Took 200 episodes to go through Socrates and Jesus. It's all a dialogue in heaven. We're only 7 episodes in, and we're already come to a profound realization that beliefs are prejudices in principle, and the cause of problems because they oppose our literal purpose and what's rational and true, and participation in intelligence and truth, understanding, or the dialectic. So anyone who wants to be in any position of authority, you have to follow the dialectic. You have to have some understanding of the dialectic and be open to following it. Number 2, any reporter must have it. She doesn't, find a professional. You pay LeBron James $60 million to do a slam dunk, find the best people of our species who have mastered the dialectic, and give them just as much money to facilitate dialogues with the most important people about the most important things. It will help surface and purify that individual's problem and from society. That's justice. That's true justice. Not punishing people for being wrong or ignorant, or punishing people for challenging the beliefs of the ignorant people in charge. That's injustice. That's our current world. Justice is looking at the beliefs that whoever did a crime or genocide or enslaved people through capitalism, whatever, looking at their crime or injustice, understanding the fundamental belief behind it, why it was believable, how it sustained it, and finding out what is needed to resolve it at its cause, helping that individual and allowing us to learn about the societal conditions that gave rise to this sickness that threatened humanity, so we can improve everyone's life. It's a win-win.
Win, 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 win.
That would be true justice. So what have we done? We've taken our dialectic on the nature of human problems, prejudice or belief, in particular the belief that saves all belief. It's all relative to belief, perspective, opinion. We've taken everything about the problem and we've just flipped it. That's the structural similarity in reality. As earlier we talked about how our initiation into our pathologos experience, the origin scene that we seek to address through midwifery and dream analysis, is similar to our actual enlightenment experience or initiation experience, ideally through dream analysis. So too, by addressing what's false, we can flip all of the terms and gain insight into what's true. Imagine being ruled by a dialectician. Imagine that being the standard of expertise, not belief and opinions, which causes death and destruction and fascism and tyranny and torture and all sorts of horrible shit, making Earth Hades, making Earth hell. If hell is anywhere, it's here because of allowing belief to rule. That's it, nothing more. And imagine if it was ruled by dialecticians. And our society was to create Philadelphia as the single most important subject that everyone takes. So we did. And you can do it too. Flip it. As you're on the bus, wonder about it. I wonder what it would be like if blah, 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 blah. Oh, and if you start to get ideas, oh, I've got like 4 or 5 ideas. Or how could I arrange them in the dialectic and turn my thoughts or ideas or insights into understanding myself? And then you're on the bus to meet your friend for coffee. So, oh, I wonder if I can test my understanding what relationships should be about with my friend over coffee by running them through that dialectic. See if they can follow the steps. See if it nails down my understanding, helps them. It's a win-win-win. No.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win. We win. See? So, belief can't participate in universal principles, uses circular logic to sustain itself, results in absurdities that we can have fun with. That's where comedy lives. Also can't predict the future because it's not the perception in the present, which leads to danger or catastrophes. How that definition of belief functions in relation to evidence and reason changes evidence, never changes the belief, blocks, sabotages, silences, or distracts from reason. That's all the culture war bullshit. But the trans people doing sports, oh, they should never play sports. They should be alone in their room. Bullshit. That's just a distraction from belief allowed to exist in politics, religion, and capitalism. That's it. Just a distraction. Oh, you made fun of Donald Trump. Go to prison. Go to the concentration camps. Go to Alligator Alcatraz. It's just to silence reason. These are the worst of our species and our own worst function because we all have some sort of belief from childhood. That's why we're here, to address it. Purify it and learn the art in the meantime. Learn the art in the process. So, and we have a mini dialectic, definition and demonstration. Reason is blocked, and Harry demonstrates that, showing personal attacks, logos attacks, us versus them, competition. I thought you're on my team, baby, and fighting at the end. That's where we're up to in the text, by the way. We'll see that in a second. So that's how it functions. How does this negative function towards evidence and reason divide out? How does it relate to truth? You can't. You can't. You can't. That over a little bit. You can't prove the belief or anything. Let's write anything. Belief can't prove itself or anything anyone else says itself or anything. Let's get this all the way over here, because this is something else. This was about, okay, let's make some space. Then over here, move this over here, move this over here, move this over here. You can't prove your own beliefs or anything else true. Can't prove your own beliefs or itself or anything anyone else says especially if they judge it as it seems to them that you're wrong. Anything else, true. You can't prove itself or anything else false. You can't improve or surpass that belief itself or anything else. And so as a result of that, our conclusion from all of those things, what's a common feature among them? You cannot judge and you cannot reject. So that's our conclusion that we take over here to the next stage, the conclusion. So the top of the last becomes the bottom of the next, or the starting point of the next. So by definition, that's something else we can learn. So this book's so fucking brilliant. It's giving us what we need for these dialectics with it, while also giving us what we need to learn the different kinds of dialectics. The true, false, both one. The definition, demonstration only one. The full one. The one that leads to the next one. The hyparxis. I mean, it's all in there. It's all in there. You can pick and choose what's relevant for your situation as a dialectician. So we're seeing how it flows over. So this is the, if you cannot judge based upon truth and you cannot reject what is shown as false, what would that be like as a person? What would Harry, what would he be doing? Or even better still, seeing as we're doing the different kinds of dialectics, what's Harry's state of mind? Because this is why we're doing this. Beliefs are not neutral. They affect us. They're the root cause of human problems for a reason. They affect our state of mind. Now we can go back through the text and we can see how Aaliyah describes him being rude and being, I don't know, a dick. I don't think the word dick is in the text, but there'll be something. It'd be more like
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
be disgusting. Maybe it will say
You're a baby. You're a little baby.
he's a little baby, or maybe it will say
Oh my fuck.
Okay. So either what is said about Harry's state of mind from Aaliyah or other people, or Harry himself, or what you can infer from how he functions. What's Harry's state of mind? He seems to jump in being pissed a lot, right? Seems to be talking to his girlfriend in a certain kind of crappy way, right? So this is the other dialectic. And by the way, how are your dreams going? Because all the way through this, we have been encouraging you to listen to your dreams and use, as we said today, we're learning how to read. Use this method of reading or dialectic, apply it to your dreams. We get the definition here, you get to demonstrate it by looking at your dreams. So hey, have you noticed in the dreams that you had last night? Apply this one. Work backwards. Was there a certain conclusion that was negative in your dream? Did you reach your goal, or did you fail to reach the goal set in the dream? It's within the universe of the dream. There'll be a certain logic within the dream. Did you reach your goal? How did you function? So the division can relate to the role you play in the different scenes. So Harry relating to Joseph, Harry relating to Aaliyah, Harry relating to the dialectic. So this is the drama that we see playing out. Can you see that in your dream? Was there a drama? And if you've got more than one goal or scene that you can reflect on, or more than one dream that you recorded because you've been waking up every 2 hours during the night, and part of division is looking for a common theme among the different expressions. Is there a certain role that you play in each of them? Is there a certain language or words that you use in each of them that lead to the conclusion, that lead to your failure, lead to the problem? Now, if you've noticed that, you can ask the question, oh, is that similar? Is that analogous to something happening in my present? Why am I getting this dream now? What's the structural similarity between the dream and my current life? And are there divisions? Do I play it out at work, relationships, home, different in the past? Does it have a history? The next thing is demonstration. One way of understanding the demonstration is state of mind. So we can see this dialectic within a dialectic is a little bit different and talks about the result or the success or failure that results in your dream, the drama and the role that you play in that drama that led to that success or failure. And once you've recognized a pattern in that, you can ask the question, what was my state of mind? Or what was it like? So as a dialectician, if you are leading the reflection of a dream with your friend or your partner or whoever, you can ask, what was it like? Use analogy. What did it feel like? Is it like being in a waterfall? Was it like being trapped under a box? Was it like when you were 4 and your dad yelled at you? What was it like? That's about the state of mind. And same question. Were you in a similar state of mind recently, in your present? Now, does it have a history in your past? Why are you getting it now? And of course, what we're seeing is expertise also involves predictions about the future. Could this be a premonition about your future? Or a warning about a potential danger or catastrophe in the future if you don't address this problem? If that's the case, could our dream maker be demonstrating the highest kind of expertise, the highest kind of mastery of the dialectic, the highest kind of functioning of self? So while we're learning about what's bad with Harry, at the same time, or the nature of problems and ignorance and blocks to the logos and dialectic with Harry, at the same time, you can be learning about the other side of it by paying attention to your dreams. Could that be something you can wonder about as you reflect on your dreams? Record it into audio as soon as you open your eyes. You can set an alarm to go off every couple of hours because that's the, you have REM sleep for about 90 minutes. That's when you dream. Record, say anything, go back to sleep. You'll find all these recordings maybe, and you can transcribe them. We used to have to type them up, but now we have this audio transcription things that can spit out the make sure it's real because you want to get it as accurate as possible. So you can check the AI transcript or the automated transcription from audio service, and apply what you're learning about reading and the dialectic with an open, curious mind and see what's there to be seen. And hey, even better, take one in your back pocket from last night into these podcasts or read-alongs. See if that does anything for you. So if that's the case and there's a high level of expertise being demonstrated by your dream, then behind the if our failure is caused by our drama and our role within the drama, and our role within the drama is from our state of mind, what it was like, then it must be a message about a certain belief that we are carrying that we don't even suspect we're carrying, because that belief prevents it from being seen, prevents itself from being seen, prevents itself from being judged. And now we are seeing why. Harry's demonstrated you can't judge it, you can't even see it. Projects blind spots and false interpretations. So what is the underlying causal belief about yourself? Make some more space. What's the underlying causal belief about yourself or reality that must be behind that state of mind? And again, you might have to infer that. And we talked about there being a history behind this state of mind. So your state of mind is like a DeLorean time machine. Trace that state of mind back. When was the earliest you remembered it? And of course, as we mentioned, the origin scene is kind of similar to an enlightenment scene, only the opposite. You're not experiencing it, someone else is. And it's not real, it's just an appearance. They seemed most true, they seemed most beautiful. They seemed to be passing on a dharma, a sacred teaching about reality. When you were young and you were dependent in that, as a child, on that parent or parental figure, surrogate. So, let me write that down. Yeah. So if you can trace that state of mind back through your past to the earliest you can remember, and your dreams might give you clues in the furniture, in the metaphors, the people who show up. Oh, that was my year one friend. What happened when you were in year one? In your birthday or at Christmas or at a special moment? Do you remember anything? Were you in that state? Can you remember at that age? So your dream will give you hints and clues to solve that puzzle. But here we see, so that's what you can take with you to your dreams tonight or tomorrow. Or if you recorded them last night, today. So we're seeing this, so we've got, brilliant, isn't this beautiful? 4 different kinds of dialectics to demonstrate the different kinds of dialectics that you can use. Within a master dialectic, because definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. So in the conclusion phase, we did the demonstrating the hyparxis thing, carrying the conclusion from the last over, which demonstrates the true, false, and both. Can't prove it true, can't remove it as false, can't address both, which of course dream analysis does both. Anyway, therefore you can't judge and you cannot reject, so that's our starting point for our conclusion. You can't, if that's the underlying belief or idea governing Harry's state of mind, can you describe the state of mind in the text? Because that's what makes it meaningful. It's about our states of mind. And our states of mind affect our lives, our dramas, our relationships. What if, in the chat, what if I'm prejudiced to people who hate melted cheese? Oh my goodness. Well, if it's a prejudice, then it's merely a belief. But if it's true, why would anyone hate melted cheese? Cheese that's melted. Well, that seems to be legitimate. I would suspect you would be able to give a dialectic on why it's wrong and weird to dislike melted cheese. In which case, if it can be demonstrated through definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion, you've turned your prejudice or belief into understanding. Which means you can share it with your friend and take them out of their ignorance. If it's true, if it's understanding, it's always going to be true. So it's a learning you can take with you everywhere, perhaps even into your dreams, maybe even beyond this life. And if somebody asks, why is melted cheese the way? You can be, oh, I'm excited. I'm so glad that you asked me why I came to that conclusion. I can run you through the dialectic on why melted cheese is the best, helping you learn about the wonders of melted cheese and helping my soul, because it's this very dialectical exploration of ideas that we are here to do as human beings and master. As is our conclusion. Now, the important thing is don't just believe me. Demonstrate why the dialectic is the purpose for our existence as human beings, the meaning, our highest goal. Define why and demonstrate it. Do a dialectic on the dialectic using what we've been reading, using the text. They would be better people if they like cheese that is melted. Yes. Like, how could we enjoy fondue or sandwiches? Grilled cheese. Right, so fondue, sandwiches, grilled cheese, that would be the divisions. So start by talking about grilled cheese itself. Why is grilled cheese? Talk about grilled cheese itself in relation to itself. Define grilled cheese. What's so good? What's so great about grilled cheese in and of itself? Now talk about, as you've defined that grilled cheese or melted cheese, use that definition to talk about how it functions or demonstrates. What makes grilled cheese so wonderful? Because while you can define it, we don't see its definition. We see how it functions. We relate to how grilled cheese functions. Like on pizza, like how cheese that's melted. So talk about how this is what grilled cheese does to food. Now, you've got how it functions, or grilled cheese relating to a meal or relating to a person. So in other words, you pick the other. So it's self to other. You've defined self itself, grilled cheese itself, and how it functions to other. Now you want to talk about all the wonderful ways that grilled cheese can improve a meal or improve someone's life. So that functioning that you've just demonstrated, that rolls over here to the next stage. How does that functioning relate to all other things in divisions? So from functioning, so talk about grilled cheese on pizza, talk about grilled cheese on movies, talk about grilled cheese on sandwiches. Talk about how grilled cheese are sexy, and if you want to date me, you eat grilled cheese sexily. Goon. Now, as a result of those divisions, is there something that will prove? So the person that you're explaining this to, see, hey, notice how it made the pizza better? Notice how it made the whatever freaky stuff you're into better? Notice how it made the sandwich better? Note how it made the fries better? Therefore, that theme is synthesized into, that's called synthesis, into a single other that you can relate back to the original definition. Therefore, that's called conclusion. So synthesis and analysis. Synthesis is to synthesize the key idea. Analysis is to relate it back to the self, other back to self. That's called conclusion. Therefore, it makes everything better. So what we defined as what grilled cheese is, it makes everything better. You've turned your prejudice or belief into understanding. So you're able to demonstrate truth. At any stage, your friend could say, actually, you've made a mistake there. So you could be open to seeing that this belief is wrong. So you'll be able to, by demonstrating it in this is the structure of thought. You can explore any idea this way. You can prove whether it's true and convince your friend to get into that grilled cheese with you. At any stage, he could say, because it's questions and answers, you're not doing a speech saying, what about this? And then this, do you see this? At any stage, you could be open to be proven false. So you can purify a false prejudice that limits you or limits your relationships. You can be able to improve. Hey, maybe it's both. You can see by going through this dialectic, both. Maybe some things about grilled cheese that you said are true, but some things were false, allowing you to improve on your belief. If it can be improved on, it's not a prejudice, it's not a belief, it's understanding. Why is my face perfectly symmetrical? Because
I'm eating the testicles of this bowl, and I'm eating it raw.
I'm not. No, it's because...
Hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
It's because of my, whatever Emma said, testosterone to body ratio.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
Because of all the bull testicles that I eat. Joe Rogan told me.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
So, hey, in demonstrating that dialectic, not only are you learning to understand, but you're coming together with your friend. Because, as the Oracle says,
there's only two options at the end of an argument. One, you're wrong, but now you always get to be right about that topic
going forward. So you got to learn something, which is always a plus. Or two, you're right and you get to revel in being right.
So either you're wrong and you're improved, or your friend is wrong as improved.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
And you also are practicing the dialectic, which is learning how to think clearly and develop yourself.
Win-win-win-win-win.
So by turning that prejudice about grilled cheese into the dialectic, you're able to see if, prove it true, prove it false, or do both and improve your belief, surpass it. Oh, it's a good idea. It's a good question. Therefore, your belief is now understanding, allowing you to judge whether or not it's true and reject whatever is false. You've moved from belief into understanding. Congratulations. You overcome a prejudice. And you had fun along the way. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win.
That's what I said. So we've done that. We've gone from a definition of belief, or it's all relative. We've seen how that definition functions. We did a dialectic for each one of these. So Russian dolls, dialectic within dialectics. How does it function in relation to another? What's the other we picked? Reason and evidence. Understanding. It blocks their reason and evidence. It's bad to reason and evidence in its function. Blocks, sabotages, or silences evidence, reasoning, and it changes the goalpost, rejects evidence, and never changes the belief. So how does that functioning relate to divisions? How does it relate to key divisions? What are the key divisions? Well, truth, false, both. If that's its functioning towards reason and evidence, it can't prove anything. It can't prove itself true. You can't prove whether or not your belief or your belief is true, or anyone else's belief. Careful, if you get famous, Yojima is going to borrow your face for games. Ooh, who's Yojima? What games does he make? I'd love to be a game character. I hope I get magic powers. Do a Kamehameha blast. If it's a JRPG, I'm in. So, can't relate to truth or evidence can't relate to reason or evidence about what's true. So it can't prove your own belief true or others true. Can't have reason or evidence about what's false. Can't prove whatever you believe false and get rid of it. You can't grow up with belief. You can't improve Can't prove it. Can't say I'm better than Jesus. I'll burn you at the stake. I've learned more than Joseph Smith and his Mormon underpants.
Gooner.
I've gone above the Jewish whatever, Abraham. I've improved Buddhism by introducing the Logos. Can't do that with his belief. Therefore, as a conclusion relating to truth, false, and both, I conclude you cannot judge and you cannot reject. So with belief, in particular, it's all relative. Kojima, I've heard that name. Before going independent, Kojima created Metal Gear. Oh, that's a very good franchise. A staple of style. Yeah, I know Metal Gear. I love Metal Gear. But I played number 2. It was awesome. I love Metal Gear. I haven't played the later ones though. I haven't played games in a long time. I've been planning on playing a game, having a break. I've been so busy. By the way, speaking of being busy, I'll be doing a music stream about an hour after I finish this. So if you're around, stop in chat. So is the seal like your face? Is that you smiling about Metal Gear? So if you cannot reject or judge, that's the division. So that's our synthesis from our division stage. I'm gonna go. Okay, bye. I'll see you later. So we take that synthesis from the division into the conclusion, synthesis and analysis. I typoed Kojima. I'm listening. Yeah, so I'll have a break after I finish and eat something, and then I'll play some music. I've been practicing. Thank you for always streaming. You're a goat. Man. You're welcome. Thank you for always stopping in. It's you and my soundboard. And my soundboard always says things like,
What the hell kind of a show is this? What is this, the comedy mothership?
sometimes they can be quite biting.
Dumbass.
Hey, sometimes they call me dumbass. So, it's better talking to you than my soundboard.
It's a total shit show.
Hey, calm down, Emma.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly, dimwits.
Hey, that's not nice.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
See, that's better. So, we take the synthesis to the next stage. We cannot judge upon what's true or reject what's false. And there's our underlying cause. Someone who, because beliefs, the reason we're interested in belief and understanding is it's what makes us do everything. It's our states of mind. So beliefs aren't neutral. So anyone who says, oh, everyone's entitled to their own belief is like someone saying, everyone's entitled to broken legs and cancer. Or, surely no harm can come from belief. Bollocks, because your beliefs cause your states of mind. Do you feel sad? Do you feel suicidal? Do you feel depressed? Do you feel joyful? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel like capable? That's all because of your beliefs. Or understanding. If you've been able to go from belief to understanding, that's spiritual development. That's personal growth. So, if that's the significant functioning of Harry, how does it affect his state of mind? Now that's for you to do. Go through the book and... I mean, we're only a few episodes in, so it should be easy. Now, you can get that from the text or inferred from the text, either way, so long as it's from the text. Like, you can judge his state of mind if he's whatever. Or, I think Aaliyah even said he's sometimes rude to certain people. So, how does that state of mind, demonstration or functioning, divide up into the other areas? Division. How does Harry relate to Joseph in the book? To Aaliyah, to the Dialectic, to whoever else, if you've seen anything else? Add that in. And the conclusion is, from all of this, we can come to a conclusion that it's not relating to truth. It's a personal view. Or as said in the book, it's a personal viewpoint because He can't judge what is true. The only thing he can judge is that it seems so. The personal view. So I said ... you finish it, but I'm going to add some more in. Personal view that can't judge truth, only say what seems so. But that also includes the truth about what he's saying or other people saying. That as we saw in the division stage, means he can't be disproven. Prejudice. So the analysis from that synthesis, the analysis is that's the end. So that gives us a name. When we see, understanding works by going through all of these stages and then concluding with a word that names something. Not the name given because of authority. I am a president. You're not a president. Why? Because of how you're functioning. And you can trace your dreams back that way as well. Did you reach a success or failure? What role did you play? What state of mind? And what can you infer about the underlying belief that was behind that state of mind? And the earlier you can trace that state of mind into your past, the closer you're going to get to the original cause. So is Trump a president? No. He's a fascist, racist, murdering, bully thug. That's a name based on his functioning. In the origin scene where we get our Pathologos, were they functioning as a mother or father? They had the name. So long as you mistake the name that they give themselves from how they're actually functioning, you are ignorant. You are carrying a blind spot. You have to judge what about what they were doing was true, false, or both. Belief can't do that. Belief keeps us ignorant and oppressed and enslaved within ourselves and within society. So, in principle, analysis, prejudice. So we take that conclusion of the conclusion all the way back to the start. It's all relative by definition. Can't participate in universal principles. Leads to absurdities. Justifies itself with the circular logic of this specific belief. Leads to absurdities and hilarious results, but also, as it can't predict the future, causes danger and catastrophes. And plus prejudice. Beliefs are in principle prejudice and the cause of all problems. So, what have we done? We've taken everything we've read up to now from this dialectic, not between Harry and Joseph, because he was blocked from participating in it, because, again, that's how beliefs function. That's why it's the cause of our problems. So the conversation between Aaliyah and Joseph, we've been able to do a mega dialectic, which is a dialectic with dialectics within each stage. To understand that beliefs are in principle prejudice. In particular, the belief that saves the legitimacy of belief. Now, of course, there is that other category we mentioned called axiomatic beliefs, which we hold on to in order to play geometry, or you have to accept the principle that you can learn and understand and reach your excellence to begin philosophy. but it's not going to be a belief forever. It's an axiom that you use to play the game until you get into what we're doing here and see why it's true. It's not technically, it's to be ruled by an understanding that you take as an axiom. But so any other belief is a prejudice. Isn't that interesting? Be ruled by belief is prejudice and functions in all those ways we've seen. So, speaking of that last dialectic, how does it affect Harry's state of mind and his functioning? Let's see what he says at the end. It's a prejudice. Harry, and by the way, this will probably be reflected in his dreams, so maybe you can do a sequel to this where Joseph and Harry and Aaliyah meet up in a coffee shop to explore Harry's dreams, which might give him this whole drama reflected in a certain way to help him gain insight into how he was blocked in this conversation. Harry jumps in. You call it a prejudice? Just look at that so-called argument of Joseph's, and that's where you'll find prejudice. I'm not crazy, he's crazy. I'm not prejudiced, he's prejudiced. How can you go along with that, Aaliyah? Oh, how can you do it? Oh, you betrayed me, my beloved. You went along with Joseph in understanding. I'm not prejudiced, he's prejudiced. Interesting state of mind he's in. Aaliyah? But it does seem right, doesn't it? Ah, so she's very clever. She's using his very principle. Hey, didn't you say if it's right, if it seems right, it's right? Didn't that seem right? Why are you getting all butt hurt? So Aaliyah's very good. Well, it's not any good. Can't you see that? You dumb broad. You broad. I think I've got that on the board.
The hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Okay. I have to pull it up. Do I have broad? I'm here.
Look at this broad.
Look at this broad. Can't you see that? He says. Well, what's wrong with it? Well, for one thing, I'd like to go over it once more. Logical arguments can be deceptive. And you ought to know that. You broad.
Look at this broad.
And Aaliyah says, would you like to go over it again? Carefully, step by step. Ooh. Good for you. By the way, how did we say that beliefs relate to evidence and reason? Block, sabotage, silence, or distract. So, Aaliyah is inviting Harry to participate in step-by-step reasoned reflection. What's he going to say? Oh, I zoom in, and then I zoom to here. Would you like to go over it carefully step by step? He says. Sometime. Maybe later. Maybe in the future, some other time. Oh, at the time. This is busy. Wait, what's that over there? Ugh. See? Distraction. Can't relate to reason, belief, and prejudice. Sometime. Aaliyah's being brave and staying with it. Holding on to not accepting a bad answer. Following up. But you wouldn't be judging it the way it seems then, would you? So if you take my invitation, you wouldn't be judging based on seeming, you'd be using reason or understanding. There we go. Harry says, oh, aren't you the... Oh, he said the same thing I said it, but I said it affectionately. He said it negatively. Interesting, isn't it? The state of mind of a believer. Or belief. How belief affects the human psyche or state of mind. And functioning. And divisions of functioning, including relationships. My state of mind was, oh, that's wonderful how clever she is. Asking a great question, judging the answer, and providing a relevant follow-up question targeted on what's most significant and meaningful, the crux of the issue. I said, oh, clever. And I quoted that Jurassic Park thing, clever girl. But I meant it, and I meant it in a positive, affectionate way. Believers, that's what lover of understanding will do to someone intelligent or clever. Clever can mean bad things, but some people use it in a negative way, but I don't. Whereas, same words, different state of mind, and different role he's functioning with Aaliyah than I was. Aren't you the clever one? Exclamation mark, question mark. So this can help you with your state of mind thing. See? State of mind. What's better? What will lead to success and what will lead to failures? Wow, you're so clever. That's so wonderful and beautiful. You have such a beautiful soul and mind. You're the best. Compared to, oh, aren't you clever? Blah. I'm gonna whop you one. Like they say in those 50s sitcoms. All the way to the moon. Or whatever they said. I don't know. Forget about that. I pretend I didn't say that. So, but interesting, right? Interesting state of mind. Aren't you the clever one? Are you getting what you came for, dear Aaliyah? Already. What's he doing? One way. See? Beliefs, which we now have understood are essentially prejudice, because they can't be moved by evidence and reason, or disproven, or improved upon. We said it functions to block, sabotage, silence, or distract. Harry's been leaving the conversation. Don't trust this Joseph. I thought you were on my team. Logos, didn't he just say? Well, logical arguments can be deceptive. So don't trust the logic. Don't trust the person using. Don't trust the dialectician. Don't trust the dialectic. Us versus them reframing. I thought you were on my team. Competition. Hey, when he tried to distract and Aaliyah wasn't having it because she's better than him. What makes humans better? Oh, what's our function? What makes a pruning knife better? It can cut prunes better. What makes a human being better? Well, what's our intended functioning and purpose? The dialectic. Oh, therefore, in principle, human beings are better to the extent they can participate in the dialectic, making Aaliyah better than Harry. That's true, and it also trickles down to has scope over everything else. And we're seeing that right now. So, he tried to distract and block the conversation by doing it sometime later, and Aaliyah said, well, by the way, if you do it later, you won't be doing what you believe in, agreeing with whatever seems true, by following the steps carefully and rationally together, you'll be participating in a higher way. So that very activity will be demonstrating there is a better way of being than the one you're identified with. And you said earlier, you don't have the courage to let go of because what will I be? Character maxing from the soundboard. So what was his response? What's the final response to belief-based functioners, which we now know as prejudice? And to block, sabotage, silence, or distract from reasoned reflection, because reason challenges belief, because beliefs are bad and harmful within ourselves, within our relationships, and within a society. In principle, always take it with you into your dreams and into your reincarnations and wherever you go. The last resort of believers to block the very functioning they're here to do, which makes you the worst person, being most blocked from the dialectic, being least blocked and most able to participate in our justice or highest excellence or function and fairness. Dialectic. Most blocked, the worst person. What's the last resort? Fighting. When all else fails, he gets into the same steps of the drama he learnt from his mummy and his daddy and he grew up with for 18 years in his most formative years, all the same steps and drama to initiate a fight. Very easily. Hey, notice the Jews doing a genocide? Right? Who funded Hamas? The Jewish state. They called it controlling the flame. Who orchestrated 9/11? Very easy to manufacture consent, create a problem to facilitate a conflict so you can play the role you learned from your parents. All fascists, you can trace it down to what they learned growing up. Trump's playing out his racist bullshit, scamming bullshit from his racist scamming KKK grifter father. Very easy. All of them. It's not very complicated. It's only one thing. The beliefs, and because
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid
Their way into stupid positions.
it was stupided in and not rational, it was an imitation. So people will look for the kinds of setups or traps to initiate the kind of conflict and fighting that their parents modeled to them. That's the nature of human problems. That's the last resort for believers. And that's what Harry is trying to start with Aaliyah. The final block to reason. War. Genocide. Conflict. Fighting. The abandonment of the rational. Aren't you the clever one? Starting with an insult. Also, carrying the fundamental premise that her intelligence is fundamentally bad. What, because women can't be intelligent? Women can't be clever? Clever as an insult? What kind of a moron are you? Harry.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist
Yeah.
everywhere.
And that exists. That's you, Harry. You're a weird
The
dude.
woman? Ugh.
Hey, calm down.
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
Is what Harry is saying. Why can't you shut up? Woman. Oh, he said, a woman, why can't you shut up? So very good soundboard drop, actually. You're a clever one. Are you getting what you came for, dear Leah? So, personal attacks, projecting her intention. I'm ignoring the logos and reasoning to lie or project about your hidden mysterious intention. You just want to do that. Palestinians are all savages. The Muslims want to do Sharia law. The leftists want to scam you. We have to murder the Iranians because we think that they might be imagining their intention is to get a nuke one day in the future, maybe. Like we have in the present. See? Very, very easy. You can just make a bullshit fairy tale story about the intentions of someone, projecting your own bullshit beliefs, and then respond to that projection with violence. You're that sort of person. Every racist does the same thing. Every sexist does the same thing. Project their racist, sexist, whatever belief they have onto the other person to justify violence to shut down rationality and intelligibility. The dialectic. So, made a fantasy bullshit story about Aaliyah's hidden intentions. You just came here for a secret to get along with Joseph and gang up on me. Are you getting what you came for, you bitch? See how beliefs are prejudices? See how they are the root cause of problems? It's what we project and keeps us blocked. Interpretation. So, the dialectic that was going wonderfully ends in a fight. So, we might as well add that to our... My camera is up above the thing that I'm looking at, so my eyes look weird. Looked into the camera. So we can take that in. Therefore, let's... delete that. We'll add that into our conclusion. Because the conclusion from Elia was prejudice, and the conclusion from Harry, who demonstrates it, which was this dialectic, it's all about Harry's state of mind. So it's a personal view, you can't judge what is true, that's prejudice. That might be the synthesis plate. That might be the synthesis. A personal view where you can't judge what is true, you can only say what seems true, which is called prejudice. We can tidy up our dialectic here. And the analysis is, how does it finally end? Fighting. Conflict. Or the abandonment. What's happening to my pen? The abandonment of the evidence and reason, logos and ousia, rational and intelligible. That's how it ends. All beliefs fundamentally result in fighting and conflict and the abandonment of the rational and intelligible. What's a fighting or conflict against the rational and intelligible? Well, we've been seeing intelligible or rational is how we judge and think, but it's also the nature of mind, the intelligible, the intellect, knowing and understanding, ousia and logos. So if that's the realm of mind or wisdom, we see the nature of the human condition of belief. Let's make this a different color. Make that, what color? No. Make it that color. Make this as. So, what have we seen? When we understanding takes the many parts into a unity and nails it down with a name, a label. Not based on your title or your PhD or your occupation that you've scammed your way into or whatever, based on your functioning. So, how do we unify the idea of fighting or conflict with the abandonment of the rational and intelligible? Well, if the intelligible and the rational is the two aspects of mind, our conclusion is, therefore, belief or belief, because it's all relative, is a belief, but it's also the belief that justifies belief. So it's really about belief itself. Belief or prejudice, which is what it is the cause of the human drama and that's two, let's say, human problems, because it gives rise, as we've seen, to your state of mind and your functioning, and opposes your purpose, not to prune prunes, not to prune prunes with a pruning knife, but to dialectic, the logos, with your human mind. Belief, or its real name prejudice, is the cause of human problems, which is... So what's the nature of human problems? Conflict against the rational, intelligible, or a war, conflict and fighting, war on mind. Yep. Fighting or conflict, as Harry is demonstrating, so it will play out in your relationships, as it plays out within society, as it plays out within your soul, as it plays out within your lifetime, as it plays out in your reincarnation. Structural similarity, it's the same logos. So belief or prejudice is the cause of human problems, which can be understood as a war on mind. So, that war is kicking off in the coffee shop, as Harry's last resort of someone trying to save belief or prejudice in the face of a better person trying to engage in dialectic, step-by-step reason, reflection, exploring a meaningful idea that can lead to truth, abandonment of the false, or improving anything, improving or development. He doesn't want that, because belief can't judge true, can't be removed as false, and can't be improved upon. That's the nature of belief or prejudice, or the war on mind. So as it's starting, aren't you a clever one? Aren't you a clever one? What? We are going to get into a fight as a distraction so I never have to question my beliefs. I will sue you. I will fight you. What happens? Mr. Euripides shows up. Coffee, anyone? And Aaliyah perhaps can see what's happening, because she seems to be better. And she says, better than Harry. You have a good sense of timing, Euripides. Interesting. So maybe that's a message about how the dialectic, unlike belief, can look ahead into the future and prevent the dangers or catastrophes on the horizon as caused by belief. Could that be why Joseph said, the most important thing I'm trying to find it. Page 20. I wonder if the biggest task in saving ourselves and our planet may be to see through the beliefs that prevent us from saving ourselves. Block the dialectic, which is the functioning of belief. To be able to anticipate that is the role of expertise. So what's needed to prevent the upcoming disasters or conflicts as demonstrated by Harry trying to pick a fight with Aaliyah? Well, could it be the dialectic? It's Euripides that is stepping in at the right time. Could that be a function of the dialectic? To step in and introduce the logos and dialectic to the right people at the right time. I've heard someone say once, difficulty about being progressive or someone who loves understanding is you're being right at the wrong time. So is the art of dialectic also about timing? I know that I often trip and fall introducing ideas like logos and pathologos at the wrong time for people who are not ready yet to hear about it. Is timing part of the art? What do you think? What are your dreams going to say? Or what do you think? What do you understand? Belief or prejudice is the cause of human problems, which is nature, human problems, war on mind. Interesting. Is it a banger of a book? Worth reading? Lots of fun? Joy and whimsy? aplenty. I am having fun. And I hope you are also having fun. So, yes, great review. We've only, 7 episodes in, and I'm not sure how many pages we're in. But already we've got enough of a dialogue that has unfolded for us to do our own dialectic on that dialectic, to bring all that together, and a mega dialectic, learning heaps about the dialectic, and giving us some things that we can even apply to our own dreams to test it. I hope you're having fun. Feel free to follow along on Twitch. You can jump in and chat to me, so I'm not just chatting to my soundboard,
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
because they tend to say things about sluts,
They're secretly turned on by it.
because they're turned on by it,
Goon, 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 goon,
because
goon.
they're goons.
They're like a goon. They're a gooner.
They feel like a goon, they're a gooner. So if you want to hop into chat, you can. Follow along on Twitch and on YouTube. You can join the Discord. You can find a link to the PDF of the text below. You can also order the book. And if you would like to support the channel, there is a donation link, and that is very much appreciated. I hope you have some interesting dreams this evening, and I hope you have some fun exploring them, especially if you're lucky enough to have an Aaliyah in your life, or a Joseph in your life. And I will... The button doesn't... There we go. I'll see you in the next one.